Here's a doozy, okay? Reduce the damage to blacked out limbs by 30%. Veritas. What do you think that means?
Okay, wait a minute. Reduce the damage.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the podcast, a show dedicated to talking about all the poggers things in life, like music, content creation, and video games. I'm one of your co-hosts, JesseKazam.
Oh,
So I can't see Veritas.
that was good. And I'm funny looking, I guess.
Funny.
All I got to do is look into the camera and this giggle monster.
This
fucking giggle.
reminds me, by the way, we have to talk about this first. You saw the AI replaced voices for us.
Yeah,
on
dude,
Twitter.
What the fuck?
It's the same guy that did Podcast GPT. He's been just like working with all the subtlety. Yeah, he's a homie.
Right.
He was at TwitchCon. We play Star Citizen with him all the time. Anyways, I guess he's just super into the AI stuff. So he's been working with the language, the like AI voice generation and training it. And so he trained it.
Wait. 41? Was that not 41? Was that an
it
AI?
Was. No.
Okay, I was gonna be like,
no. That was AI. That wasn't 41. Like that was 41's voice. He downloaded all the MP3s of the voice lines. You were a bear. You were like bear number 3. You were like Sergey or whatever. He downloaded all the voice lines and just feeds the Tarkov voice lines into a language learning thing, and then creates an AI voice model that he then fed that clip of the podcast, and it replaced my voice with USEC 4, or 3, which happens to be 41, and he replaced your voice with Bear 2 or whatever it is, and that's what came back.
I thought he just got 41 and someone else to overdub it like bad lip reading.
Isn't that even crazier then? That was AI.
That's the crazy thing is I haven't played Tarkov for so long that I like kind of recognize the voice, but I'm like, maybe that was just his voice.
Yeah.
Like
Dude.
I thought it was him in 41.
Isn't that insane, bro? And it even got like my inflection where I laughed a little bit, and then I was like, I'm JesseKazam, and then you hear 41 is like, I'm just like, it was so good. And then like you as like, it was so funny because 41's voice is 41, but I hear those bear voices all the time in Tarkov. So it felt like, I don't know, it felt like the scene from Wreck-It Ralph where all the villains are sitting around in a therapy session and the Street Fighter guy's like, just because you're a bad guy doesn't mean you're a bad guy. It felt like that, like the bear from Tarkov was like, and I'm a level 100 rogue. Like he was like talking about what he does in his off time and stuff like that. Oh, dude.
Oh, shit. Yeah, I don't get the Wreck-It Ralph reference. Never saw it, but I know what you mean.
Very good movie. Anyways.
I won't watch it until you watch like the 97 movies.
Yeah, true. But anyways, that was hilarious.
So that must have been the same, like similar. I was gonna say, but it sounds like he probably did that himself. Because recently, somebody sent me, and I don't remember who it was now. Too much shit. Oh, it was Ultimate. Ultimate Casey sent me Eminem, like I think it was Guess Who's Back.
Okay.
But in Cartman's voice. It's like, guess who's back? Guess who's back? Guess who's back? And it's like,
yeah. In Sealable's Discord, Subtlety sent like a minute and a half of Stacy's mom, but with 41 singing it.
Holy shit. Dude. You know what I was thinking? I had an absolute 5-head idea that I think would make people more concerned than anything because they'd think I was having a stroke. But you know how sometimes people do the bad lip reading where they what they're saying, it matches exactly the mouth shapes that would, but it's nonsense.
Yep.
Yeah, so my, pea salad, Toyota Corolla, like it's just garbage.
Yep.
I was thinking about taking that to the next level and doing a bad lip reading of myself. So it would just look like I was having a stroke.
Oh my god.
Because it wouldn't make any sense.
Because it would be believable with your voice. Yeah.
I would know exactly the like inflection
You
and
need
everything.
you need to take a clip of you like mauling at a chatter who's just like really not listening to what you're saying, because it would literally look like you had just snapped and you were like losing your mind. Oh my god.
Oh
That'd be
yeah,
so
no,
funny.
that's a good idea. Someone will probably beat me to it, but so anyway, what's up?
Anyways, so it's been quite the eventful week in Tarkov land. I like that they're doing events and stuff like on like Mondays and Tuesdays instead of
It's been literally eventful.
literally eventful. And then they did a new patch this morning, which I was like, oh, thank you, BSG. Perfect for the podcast. Because if they do it tomorrow, then it's a whole week until we talk about it. And then it's 3 more days till the episode goes up. And I was like, oh, bless up. So things got a little crazy. I know you probably know a little bit about what's happening, but we can just take it chronologically first in Tarkov land. On Monday, we got a new event, and that event was an all the bosses are on one map event, but they separated out this is actually wholly, like when you look at the whole, one of the best Tarkov events ever. I love this event. The goons, the 3 goons, are on factory 100% of the time, just permanently. Every time you load in, the goons are on factory, which of course you're going to spawn in and Bird Eye's going to one-tap you sometimes, but it's chaos. It's end of wipe chaos. 5 players.
Is Tagilla also in there?
No. No.
Oh, they removed him.
Yeah. 5 players, 5 to 6 players, scavs, the goons. It's insanity. And if you're good, it's a great loot farm, right? You can just like rip them and get out of factory with some class 5 armors and some decent ammo and some guns that you're going to vendor because they're like 18 durability. But it's awesome. Then separately, the 6 other bosses, Kilatagilla, Reshala, Gluhar, Sanitar, and Sturman, are all on one map, which they've done for a few years now, where like they put them all on reserve or they put them all on interchange, but they rotate every 4 hours or whatever. 4 hours, 5 hours, they rotate to a new map. So they go customs, and then they're all on shoreline, and then they're all on interchange, and then they're all on, I think, woods, and then reserve, and then back. I think the only 2 maps not included are lighthouse and labs. Labs, obviously, and then I don't think they put them on lighthouse. And so all the bosses are on a map. So that, to me, is really cool for a few reasons. One, the fact that they rotate is awesome just because like it's not just one map forever. And it allows you, it rotates around. So like if you're newer and you want to like get your customs quests done, you just wait till they're on any other map, and then the other raids are pretty dead. So the boss rotations are pretty cool. The only criticism I would say is that how long they spend on each map and how many maps there are adds up exactly to 24 hours. So it's like, it's always...
If you play during the same time,
yes,
you always base... Yeah.
It's always customs in the morning. And I wish they had halved it so that like it would rotate. You know what I mean? So like they're on each map for half as much time, but twice a day, or not even half, I guess a third. Somewhere where it would like actually rotate, and every day it would be different. But they tweeted, it was like a newspaper, and they actually, in the newspaper article in Russian, it actually said the schedule too. So it's like they actually kind of told you the schedule of what was going to happen. But super fun that it changes and that it moves around. Super fun, just like endgame PvP. The bosses, of course, are just like awful entities, but it's still super fun to just like dumpster them. And then there were 2 new quests. One quest was kill all the goons in one raid and survive. And then the other quest was kill all the other bosses in one raid and survive. And it gave you like T7 goggles or something. So like more quests and more like hard quests, but not
like reasonably hard.
Because like it's one of those things where like the reward isn't such that a casual player feels like they're missing out if they don't do this event. Like the reward is like 55,000 USD, which is a ton, and T7s, which nobody's gonna freaking use. You know what I mean? You're just gonna sell them, or I mean, I guess you'll use them, but every time I use T7s, I die to a buckshot scav, so I don't care about T7s anymore. But it's not like unlocking BP like it had been in the past, right? So
yeah.
And there's no like, it's not like if you, well, I guess, yeah. I don't know. It just felt you can accomplish it in one raid. It's not like the Bloodhounds event where you had to survive 7 raids in a row. It was just like
10 raids without encountering a cheater. Like, oh,
yeah,
exactly.
It's like the cultist one and the Bloodhounds one had to span like 10 raids, and there was a fail condition. So that was just so brutal to get super close and then fail. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas this one is just like, do it all in one raid. And if you die, you get like, you know what I mean? It was only 1 raid's worth of time invested, and it wasn't whatever. I ended up getting it done kind of accidentally. Me and Valiant were just playing, and I killed Rashala, and then I killed Killa Tagilla, and Valiant died, and he was like, well, try. And we were on interchange, and it was like nighttime, so there were less player scavs, and I ended up just basically shift Wing throughout the whole map and killing them all and getting out. So I was like, Pog. I didn't expect to. But I don't know. It's super fun. It's just like nonstop PvP, nonstop really good loot. Just there's always going to be players. There's always going to be something crazy.
How like populated does like the queues and like the raids feel? Like, does it feel like it's? There's been times in Tarkov where it's like game's dead.
Yeah.
Is it getting to that point now where there's less and less
regularly
people,
with
or?
no event? Yeah, kind of. Especially since I flipped my schedule and I do mostly morning streams now. So mostly morning NA. So, at 11 a.m. on a weekday, like my streets raids, like without an event, it's pretty much like I run a lot of streets, and it's like I can go 2 hours and get into one fight with a PMC. And then after lunchtime, it starts picking up. And then by like 2-3, when I'm like ending my stream, it's like pretty full raids.
Yeah.
But it's like, so it depends. It's not uncommon for me to hop into a streets raid and there be, 8 or 9 PMCs all together. But it's also very not uncommon that from 9 a.m. when I hop on to like 10:30 or 11, I just loot the entirety of streets to myself. You know what I mean? Yeah. So the event is nice because it definitely brings a ton of people. A ton of people to do the event and get some PvP or get their boss killing quests. Like I had never completed the kill Sturman 20 times so you can unlock the Mark 18. Like I'd never completed that quest, but I checked. I was like, I have 14 Sturman kills because I just played a lot of woods this wipe. I was like, So I grinded. We did 10 raids. I got Sturman 6 times. Boom, I got that quest done.
Oh, dude, that's how I would fucking do the kill Killa 100 times.
Tracksuit, yeah.
If he was on factory, you bet your ass I would get the tracksuit.
Yeah. Valiant's kind of doing that where he's like, let's just spawn in. Let's always go for Killa. I'm gonna try and get tracksuit. Kinda, it's nice. And this is the longest an event has gone. All the other events, Bloodhound, Cultist. There was another event. The other 200% boss spawn. All of them lasted almost exactly like 3 days. This one started Monday, and it's still going on, even persisting through the huge patch we got today. It's still going on. So, the only criticism I have is that I wish that they were on different maps at different times each day, so that, like, if you only can play at night or if you can only play in the morning, you actually get a little bit of variety there. But other than that, the quests weren't overwhelmingly toxic. It wasn't like you had to complete the quests to feel like you were having fun. It's not pushing people off of customs or whatever map because it changes. You can still like, it was just like, this was like a awesome event. Like good event.
Bro, that just kind of reminded me tangentially, and this will be a segue into the new regular segment of the show, which is things I learned from Diablo that I wish they did in Tarkov. There's this whole like system. It's called the Renown system. I won't get into like the details, but there's like a million of these like statues that when you go around, they're like hidden all over the place.
Yeah.
And when you like find one, they give you bonuses, like
Yeah,
permanent bonuses
okay.
that are shared for all of your characters. So it might be like +5
Oh,
strength
interesting.
or +1 skill point. And then there's also like a fog of war on the map that when you go around and you explore with a character, you uncover the map. It's going to be different. Season 1 of Diablo starts in like 3 weeks. It's like 20th of July or something.
Okay.
And there's a bunch of changes that are coming around then. But one of the cool things that they weren't originally planning on doing, that after the feedback from the players, they are now doing, is all of that stuff you get, the vast majority of that progress you'll have it forever.
Oh,
So
okay.
you don't have to go like you don't have to play the campaign again, the main storyline. You don't have to go and collect 150 fucking Lilith statues. You don't have to go and do. You'll always start off every season and every character with a ton of shit that you already like unlocked. So it gives you like a motivation to do it, right?
Yeah.
I was just thinking about how many more people would go for tracksuit, maybe not only if it was slightly more attainable or if there were, but also like if you unlocked it once and you always had it. Even if it was still 5 million rubles or whatever.
Yep.
So at level 1, day 1, you're not going to be able to wear your tracksuit, right? But if you make a bunch of money, then you can buy it, but you don't have to kill 100 times
that's interesting.
again.
You unlock the ability to purchase it each wipe.
Yeah,
you still have to invest something. Yeah. That's I couldn't agree more, man.
Now I get like that the wipes aren't seasons.
Yeah.
Although I think it's still in the air as to like whether or not they will be anything like seasons in the future or whatever. But I don't know. I just feel like that it's really nice to know that when you're playing a game that has a repetitive cycle, whether it's seasons or whether it's wipes or whatever, that the things you're doing that you're much more likely to want to do them and to be excited about doing them, even if they're kind of annoying and grindy.
Yeah.
If it's a permanent benefit.
Dude. Yeah, man. It's crazy. It's crazy because like, it's such a good, because we've talked a lot about how they could do a lot of that stuff. There could be tons of quests and tons of things, but even shrinking it down to just a few, like you could make 3 quests that every wipe give you something permanent, an upper, a lower, and an armband. And that would mean twice a year, an artist would have to just sit down and create an upper, a lower, and an armband. It wouldn't have to be a tremendous amount of work. And those 3 quests could change minimally. One would be a kill a boss a certain amount of times. One would be kill X amount of PMCs. And one would be kill X amount of scavs. Kill 10,000 scavs in this wipe. Kill 2,000 PMCs. Kill X boss 100 times. Wow, I'm literally just doing it. This is all you would need. And then and it's just the boss would just rotate each wipe, and then there'd be an upper, a lower, and an armband. And it's like, who cares? You know what I mean? If 2-3 years from now you start your wipe with 6 armbands, like it's still cool. It's like I did the thing this wipe, this X wipe. You know what I mean? Like that has no bearing on skill. Like as far as there's no. Like, it's not like extra ammo when you wipe. Like, it has no bearing on how your wipe is going to go. It's literally just something to do and something to show for what you've done.
Yeah, that's the one thing that, in my opinion, is really missing from Tarkov, which I get is inherent to the genre. But the idea of any amount of, God, fuck, what am I trying to say? Like, when you play games that don't have wipes, whether they're single player games or multiplayer games or whatever, like when you unlock things, maybe like the golden gun, golden fucking AK in Call of Duty 4.
Yeah.
It's like worth getting the headshots or whatever because like you have that kind of forever.
Yeah.
You have that like investment and as cheesy as it sounds, like a sense of pride or whatever over like your collection of things. There's nothing that really that really sticks with you.
Correct.
And I think there's so much that Tarkov could do, even though it's a game that is largely about losing everything when you die. That doesn't mean that you can't ever keep anything ever.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. And the things, and like, it's so funny when people, when you bring up cosmetics in Tarkov, people already and it's like, they tense up a little bit, but it's like, we have so many cosmetics in Tarkov, right? Like things that qualify just as cosmetics, right? Like you got the ball sack mask, you got all these clown masks, you got sunglasses, you got aviators, you got hipster stuff, you got 10 different tops, 10 different bottoms for each faction. There's probably like 10 different armbands right now, and none of those anybody cares about. None of those people go, oh my God, what a cuck wearing the pink unicorn freaking headpiece. Like,
worried about like a guy with Batman, like,
and so like
cape running around,
why not
like
just
Fortnite.
Do more of those things? Like it's just the armbands and tops and bottoms are so simple, because we've talked before about gloves, and gloves would be great, but gloves would require them to separate the gloves from the tops and add a new spot and exchange UI. But like, just like, you don't have to do anything. Just get your artists to whip up a cool top and a bottom and a new armband for this wipe. Just like so simple. You know what I mean? And let it become purchasable on day one of the wipe, and your armband transfers over. And it's just like, it's such a simple way to give the players like something to keep and hold on to and signify work,
some
that
amount
they
of
put
ownership,
in.
persistent ownership.
Yeah, exactly. I did the crazy kill Gluhar 100 times quest, and I got this sick armband. I put a ton of work into it. Like it seems like absolutely nothing but a W.
If they could go back in time and they could have had like armbands for like every year. Like imagine, I'm envisioning an alternate reality where we have hot dog fingers in our hideouts, and we're looking at the wall, and the wall has the 2016, the 2017 armband, the 2018 armband. And it's like, look at my fucking
100%.
Like, look at my history, my, like
100%, dude.
Unfortunately that, like train has already left the station.
Yeah.
But dude, I don't think we've ever talked about gloves before. But one of my favorite cosmetics, I mean, like, I think if CSGO didn't have skins, I probably would never have played CSGO. As much, remotely as much as I did. And one of my favorite skins was when the gloves first came out. I had sold one of my knives that I had for like $300, and I bought these gloves. And the gloves, it was just like so sick, because you spend the whole day looking at your hands and the gun, right? And again, they don't have to be fucking pink flaming, Spider-Man themed, whatever.
Yep.
They can be like in lore reasonable.
Yeah.
But like, oh man, fucking see, I actually don't give a fuck about armbands, because I don't see the armband.
Yeah.
People will only see the armband if I'm about to kill them or I'm dead on the ground.
Yeah.
But the gloves
would be sick.
I like because I can see it.
Yeah, you can see the thing is, though, is that like what video games have definitively taught us is that it actually does not matter at all what the cosmetic looks like, only that it's rare. That's it. That's the only thing that matters.
If it's the ugliest thing in the world, but there's 5 of them, the people will rock the 100%. Fucking giant, the unicorn dicks flopping on their foreheads. I would be the first to, if there was 3 in the world, you bet your ass I'd be the one 100%. Rocking it.
So they don't have to, like, that's the thing, is I think they don't have to look very far, like, to create these cosmetics. It's all based on real clothing. All you have to do is say, this cosmetic is locked behind this really hard task. I want it. That's it. That's all you have to do. You know what I mean? Like, it's not, they don't have to reinvent the wheel. They don't have to have artists thinking about like, oh, what would somebody be? It's just like, go look at 4 more pairs of Under Armour gloves and just put them in the game and put them behind hard tasks, and your job is done. Like, God, you know what I mean? So I don't know.
I do think they have to be, they couldn't just put in like the black mechanics gloves and call it a day.
Yeah.
Because like they look the same at like.
Yeah, they would have to look different.
You want to look at them and have them look cool. But at the same time, I mean, maybe this is like a content creator thing, but like you want other people to see them.
Yeah.
as much as you want to see them and be like, oh shit, you know,
Yeah.
when I'm playing CS:GO, half of the fun of having like a sick marble fade bayonet is that when I'm the last one alive, people are like, oh fuck, you know, like sick knife, you know, like it's like having a nice car. It's like, you know, having a sweet pair of sunglasses. You know, it's completely and utterly shallow, but let us have fucking fun while we're playing a game, you know?
Yeah. No, I agree. I think that'd be sick. I think that'd be. I hope they do something.
Yeah, and you've already got Killa, who I mean not Killa, fucking Rashala, and also Killa's tracksuit. I mean, like Rashala looks like a fucking car salesman.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like he's just a dude with like a
jacket and a watch. Yeah.
So I mean, honestly, remove the bosses from the game. Go a few years back and talk about skins. Imagine if you're like, yo, I want this like fucking sick Italian mafia looking wristwatch and a gold chain. People would be like, go play Fortnite.
Go play Fortnite. Yep.
You know, like,
I mean, you think for a while when you could sell them on the flea market, the bright purple Twitch Rivals armband, you could sell for anything. You could trade it for anything you wanted off the flea market. Not because it was tactical, not because it was lore based, because it was rare.
And also because it was purple and stood out.
Yeah.
I think all things being equal, if it was not as flashy, it would have still been popular because of the rarity, but also the visual, like.
Yeah. I guess. Yeah. It
you
was both of
instantly
those
look
things.
And see, oh shit, they've got the sick armband, right? If it looks like some other armband, you have to really squint to see if it's got the 3 stripes rather than the 2 stripes.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, then it's less interesting.
I feel you. But yeah. So the new patch the new event is sick, not was sick. It's still going on. I have people ask me all the time if it's still going on or like it ended, right? Because of how short the other ones have been. But dude, it's been super fun. I mean, it's like Tarkov is still very Tarkov, right? The AI sucks. We were fighting. We pushed over to fight Sturman today, and he was full sprinting, and he 180s, crouches. I fall over. Then you hear an SVD shot, and he hit me 3 times. The after action report says like I got hit 3 times in the thorax with the SVD, and I was like, okay, buds, you know what I mean? And they still say that doesn't happen, which is hilarious. But generally, it's just super fun to like have something to do, to have a PvP catalyst. It's a great XP farm. The raid that I killed all the bosses, I got like 59,000 XP. So it's just the perfect amount of stuff to do, PvP to have, good loot flying around, XP to farm, and it pushes you around to maps, and there's no bullcrap with Fog or Sanitar has 87,000 HP. It's just chill. So it's been good. I've been really liking it.
Sweet.
Then yesterday we got a tweet, and it was very interesting, man. Very interesting. There's a lot to break down here, but we got a tweet yesterday saying, tomorrow, July 6th, we are planning to install the technical update 13.1.0. The installation will take approximately 6 hours, but may be extended. There will be no wipe at this time.
6 fucking hours?
Yeah. So this was super interesting because I'm trying to find the roadmap here. I have it saved somewhere. This was super interesting because as per that roadmap that they gave us, it was the 13.0.5, which was like they added Oculus to interchange and they fixed the flashlight bug. And then they said there was going to be the Unity 2021, and then it was going to be 13.1, and 13.1 was like the top to bottom. We replaced the netcode. We're doing all that stuff. And then 14.0 is all the content, right? Like all the content. I will just in case you don't have it pulled up, if you do want to take a look at the roadmap. Oh yeah, the JFIF file.
Oh, fucking A.
Anyways.
Bro, I'm just the ultimate malware.
Yep. So here's the deal. The thing is, though, is that like everybody thought kind of the way, maybe the way not everybody thought, but the way that they presented it was like the technical update and the transition to Unity were going to happen back in like April, May. And then we were going to get 13.1 and then 14. Like, basically, I say it to say, here we are. We're over 6 months into a wipe, into arguably one of the worst wipes in Tarkov history. We've got a bunch of events. We're in an all-boss event. This is the first time they've ever done an all-bosses spawn event on one map that hasn't been a pre-wipe.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get a huge patch that's not a wipe. So, like, everybody thought that, like, or at least maybe not everybody, I was convinced. I was like, 13.1 has to be a wipe. Like, it's because I'm like, there's no way 14.0 is close, you know, with all the content. There's no way that's close. So they'd
be doing something very wrong if we waited so long for 13.1 and then it's 14.0. Like,
yeah,
it would be. I mean, it's not obviously not impossible, but like just how software versioning
it would
is
just
and
be
everything.
weird.
Like,
exactly. So I was big, like, I didn't necessarily think that the wipe was going to happen in the next week or so, but I was convinced that the next wipe was going to be 13.1 because I was like, what the hell else is it going to be? Yeah. Then we get the tweet that says 13.1 is happening tomorrow, 6 hour downtime, no wipe. And then we got confirmation from Nice Guy that this does not include the transition to Unity 2021. They like leapfrogged it. And what blew my mind was I was under the impression that all of this new netcode stuff was directly a result of them working in Unity 2021. Right? That's what I would have assumed. So it
was no, you misunderstood. It was all the work they did in 2021. They just hadn't got around to merging it yet.
Maybe.
They've been working on the merge conflicts since then.
Yeah. So very weird. Now, a lot of people were like, that's why they shouldn't have ever given dates. They never did. They literally didn't put any dates on the roadmap.
Jesse gave dates.
No, I didn't even give dates. They didn't put dates on the roadmap. And I wasn't mad. I don't care. It was just,
you sound mad.
It was just,
you look
mad. I'm actually pretty furious. It was just super interesting that we got like the double whammy of like no wipe and no Unity, but we're getting 13.1. So it caused quite a bit of confusion. However, I will say that when this roadmap came out originally, we talked about this when the roadmap came out, where I was like, 13.1 is the important patch. Shoulder swapping, vaulting, all that stuff is so cool, and I want it, but like, we have said, you could probably find this sentence coming out of our mouths, probably your mouth first, 2 or 3 years ago. In a shooter game, if you can't trust what you see and you can't trust what you hear, nothing else matters. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like you can have vaulting, you can have shoulder swapping. If the netcode sucks and the audio sucks, it just doesn't matter. Your shooter game's not going to be fun. And we've said that so many times. So back in April or May or whenever they released the roadmap, I read this patch, I read 13.1 patch notes, and I was like, this is the important patch. And I remember saying, I hope they don't wipe with this, because I was like, it's going to break the game. You know what I mean? I'd rather them just like replace the netcode, let everything like chill and like test everything. And then we need a stable wipe, right? Like if we have another wipe where we have 2 months of invisible players and streets, completely unplayable. Like this was a rough wipe week. And we can't handle many more of those. You know what I mean? So I was like, I even said way back then, I was like, I hope they don't wipe with 13.1. So it's weird how it worked out where we didn't get 13.1 until it's now July. We're 6 months and a week into the wipe. This doesn't feel like pre-wipe anymore because they did this patch. So I don't necessarily think a wipe is coming anytime soon. So it's all kind of confusing. I don't really care what order they do it in. What I care more about is progress happening. So when I saw that we were getting 13.1, that excited me more than whether there was a wipe or not. I was just like, I'm just glad we're getting patches and things are moving forward. So it was just weird. It was just weird how it all went down. We leapfrogged Unity, and then what they ended up doing was, because there was so much confusion, they released patch notes for this morning's patch yesterday, where they were just like, here's exactly what's coming in the patch and stuff like that. So let us go through them. I guess it's weird because like we'll be talking about how effective these things are as they go, because I played for about 7.5 hours this morning after the patch went live. So patch went live this morning. It was exactly 6 hours of downtime. You could download the patch like 5 minutes before the quoted downtime ended, but you couldn't launch the game. They like literally waited, like it was to the minute exactly 6 hours of downtime, but they didn't have to push it. And then the patch came up. So and I can actually, I'll throw the patch notes in chat just so people know. But they said, so the key goal of this update was to fundamentally change the architecture of player display and synchronization on the client and their connection to the server. The goals that we achieved were increase the number of network entities on the streets of Tarkov. In the future, changes are possible on other locations as well. This was not up to 60 because it said like that they were going to gradually do that. Streets, when you click on streets, it used to say like a maximum of 17 players, and now it says a maximum of 20. So it's not that much. However, I will say they absolutely increased how many scavs are spawning, and it feels like on every map. We did a streets raid first to like test everything, and brother, we basically just like ran from one side of the map to the other to extract, and I killed 15 scavs on the way, and Velian killed like 10. There were just scavs everywhere, which
I think that they must be stress testing it.
Yeah, probably. They're probably pushing it to the limit. Once again, late wipe, who cares, right? But which I'm okay with if they tone them down a little bit, right? We've talked about this before. It'd be more fun if there were more scavs, but they were less freaking snipers. You know what I mean? Like, to have more enemies running around is cool. So the PMCs didn't get increased too much, and then the network stuff improved the hit reg accuracy, increased the accuracy of position matching of the players and the server and the client, reduced the chance of desync with the server, network traffic optimizations, and memory consumption optimization. Now, I played all day today, and it's super hard to tell, right? Like, it's super hard to tell because it's so anecdotal, right? Like, I had 400 people ask me if the desync was gone before my first raid was over. And it like, even after my stream, I reached out to a few people via Discord, and I literally said, like, I was asked, like, we were asked so many times, I genuinely feel prevented from the ability to form an opinion. Because, like, what I would want to do is just, like, play the game and, like, see if I notice anything. But because, like, every 10 seconds, it's like, well, what do you think? What do you think? I'm like, well, I guess I haven't done this raid or this. Like, it's just, like, I feel like I'm being forced to give an update on my opinion so frequently that my opinion doesn't have room to, like, change. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah. And also, in a way, it's kind of like leading the witness in many ways at the same time, where it's like, yeah, I don't know. I noticed like, this. What did you think? You noticed that? The assumption is that there is a noticeable change, so it either must be better or might be worse.
Yeah.
And it very well could be, and this is how Tarkov's always been, that it's like, I don't fucking know.
Exactly.
Right? Like it could be either. They could have just done a 6-hour patch and downtime and not done anything, and I bet you there'd be thousands of people that are like, yo, they fixed the netcode, and there'd be half the people like, yo, they broke everything.
They broke everything. Exactly. And that's the thing. Like, when what you're looking to test is a thing that's not reproducible by the player, right? Like, I can't just be like, Velian, run around that corner, desync. When the cause of desync could be so many things, right? Like, if lightning struck a mile away and I got a little hiccup in my internet, right? Like, there's so many different causes for desync.
Your wife booted up Netflix.
Yeah.
Like,
additionally, you only notice the netcode when it's bad.
Yep.
There's a very real possibility that yesterday Johnny Pants 69 played 9 raids, only got desync on his 9th raid, rage quit and said, the netcode sucks, I die to desync all the time, right? And without this like looming patch, you don't consider it. So what's better? How do we know if the desync is better? We would have to know how frequently it happens, when it happens, why it happens, how much is in my control, how much is out of my control, so that I could then gauge if it was better. Now, that's not me saying I'm mad at BSG for putting on the patch notes that they tried to make it better. It's obviously bad, and they obviously want it to be better. But answering, is it better, with only my personal experience and only one stream's worth of raids, it is impossible, right? Like, it is impossible for me to sit here and tell you if it feels better. The only thing I can tell you is that I played Tarkov for 7 hours today, and because of how hyper-focused I was on it, I can tell you I didn't die a single time and say, look at that desync. Not a single time. Every death was like to some boss shenanigans or just like a straight up, I lost in PvP because I was standing still and somebody shot me in the back of the head.
So it's anywhere between they completely fixed it or
nothing's
there's
changed.
No difference and you were just on the good side,
I was just
right?
on the good side today.
You can't know. Now,
you're right. You're absolutely right.
I feel like there does exist, there's some situation, there's some world where, you know what? Like, I remember they made some sort of update and I have a clip somewhere. It's in like 2018, I think, where you see me in factory, like up in the rafters.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, bah, headshot, bah, headshot, bah, headshot on a bunch of scavs. And it was like, all I remember is like the 2 years before and the 2 years after, none of them felt like this like 1 month period.
Yeah.
Where for some reason, it was like they had fixed some hit reg stuff. They cleaned up some of the netcode, and then they also improved like the animation, like the ragdolls.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was like, it
just felt so good.
Night and day. Like you hit people with the bullet, and it was like, and it was like perfectly what you'd expect.
Yeah.
And it was like there was something different about it. Even watching it, it's really subtle, but like something different.
Yeah.
There's a world in which you're like, I don't know what happened, but something feels really good.
Yeah.
But if it feels like nothing, as in it doesn't feel bad, you can't know if they fixed it. So I guess, like, I don't know, maybe people like want to know. They want to know if it's one of the extremes.
Yes.
If it's completely and utterly everybody is running in place all the time.
Yep.
Or
the desync is gone.
Yeah. Which
is impossible.
They're gonna assume that I can't figure out how you would know that, but Jesse must know. So
yeah. So it's like, I wasn't at all mad that people wanted to know, you know, this patch that I had even called potentially the most important patch in Tarkov's history before. I'm not mad, but just the reality is that it's so hard to quantify. And of course, there's a bunch of people that just like, it's so clear. And because it's so clear, they don't even really bother me anymore. The people who just like are just looking for any morsel of evidence to support, you know, the classic BSG breaking everything, you know, failing on promises. And it's just like, I don't even read those messages anymore. I'm just like, move past. But like for the people that genuinely are just like, yo, like, how's the patch, man? Like, I just got off work. This one is so hard. It's so hard to quantify because I really, really, really want to give a real answer. And I can't, because like the way you quantified it, I wish I had that to say today. Somewhere between absolutely no different and the best it's ever been.
Yeah.
Because my personal experience can't, like, my singular anecdotal 7-hour play session, I can confidently place it there, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, why that actually to me is a huge W. The fact that that's the range, nobody I've talked to today said it was worse. And that's by Battlestate game standards, that's a W.
Oh yeah, I was just saying they could change nothing and half the people would say it was dog shit.
And so the fact that nobody was saying it was worse is nice. Dude, it's so funny though, because once again, people were so hungry for a morsel. I had probably 200 people come in to tell me that Glorious died to desync in a raid. Like, people are so...
Yo, everybody, Glorious just died to desync.
People were so hungry to be like, this patch sucks, that they saw a streamer die to desync in a raid and like felt compelled to just start flipping through the Tarkov directory and telling everybody. Right? It was just like, it was crazy. By the 200th, I was like, Jesus Christ. Like, that means nothing. Like, one person experiencing desync in one raid. Like, there were so many things. Because if the expectation was that you thought this patch would eliminate desync, then your expectation was out of control, right? Like, it's like every time, like, did they fix the audio? Did they fix the desync? Did they fix the cheaters? Like, there will never, ever, 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 ever be a singular moment where we can point to where we said we had desync and then we don't. We had bad audio and now it's perfect. We had cheaters and now we don't. That's just not how it works. So we have to bring it in on that end. Not is the desync gone, is it better? They said they were trying to make it better and happen less frequently. So not is it gone, is it better? So we have to pull it back there, and then it's hard to figure out your starting point. You know, your end point is now not is it gone, but is it better? It's hard to figure out the starting point because how often did it happen? How often did it happen to you? How often were there days where it didn't feel like desync happened? You just happened to be on the winning side of the desync all day. So you were desynced from the server. You were just the one winning. So it didn't feel like, you know what I mean? Like, it's impossible to know. So
the problem here though is that like you're explaining the right way to like mentally, emotionally approach this, but the people that needed to hear that, because this content is longer than 60 seconds, there's no way they would ever watch it.
They made it to the intro and said, oh, they haven't started talking about Tarkov yet, and they clicked away from the meeting.
They are currently in Glorious' stream saying how we're on my stream talking shit about him. Right? Like that is the Bro, the fucking, oh my god, that friendly guy had a clip on
Dude,
Twitter.
yes. Where are the bosses?
Oh my god, yeah. Bosses! Just like explaining how weird it is, dude. Like
it was a great clip because it was a great summary.
It was so good. He was basically just talking about how fucking weird it is that like there's an aspect of like Twitch culture and Twitch chat that completely and utterly, and it's like totally accepted.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's probably an age range where like people are okay with it, and then the other people who are like, it just feels like fucking weird or awkward or rude or whatever.
Yep.
But yeah, he was basically explaining just this whole concept of how people come in and they use your Twitch chat and your Twitch commands, assuming you have commands. That's the best thing when people come in and they just use commands that like they assume everybody has. Oh, you don't have like a fucking price check command or whatever. It's like, no, because I don't want to be someone's Google search thing. Like,
and I don't mind when they do that. What I think is funny is when they do the same command with like 11 different spellings. Once again, it has to be here. And it's just like price check, price checks, price $sign check, price check, PC. I'm like, bro, after the first one, you just ask, do you have the price check command? And we can say, no, you don't do 11 spelling variations. Yeah, it's weird. Yeah, because like we're like what I loved about the friendly guy clip is because he was talking about how like we're vibing, we're riffing, right? We're talking, we're having a conversation, and then somebody opens the door, where are the bosses? And you're just like, it's just, on Shoreline, man. I don't know. Like, why did that have to be in all caps? You know what I mean? It's
bro, like when I roll into someone's chat, maybe I'm a boomer, call it whatever you want, right? But the way that I approach the situation is the same way I show up to like a dinner party and I'm 15 minutes late. I like take my shoes off quietly. I open the door. I, like
take temperature of the room. What's happening?
I try not to interrupt. I might even wait a little bit to like walk in, but some people just come in and it's like, I am the main character. Everybody, I need to tell you about this, or with just no situational awareness, no emotional awareness. There's just nothing. Oh my God, you guys should have just seen what happened in Landmarks chat.
Yeah. It's funny because like I even have a hard time saying like hey or like what's up, because I'm like I should like assimilate into the conversation. Like if they're talking about something, I should like participate in this conversation first, and then if they're like, oh hey Jesse, I'm like, oh what's up, you know what I mean? Like it's anyways. It's funny because that friendly guy made me realize, like, it's so funny because I just see so many similarities to like a lot of the Twitch chatters and my kids, right? Like my 2-year-old will be doing something and he'll be like, Jess! I'm a Jess! And I'm like, brother, I'll be like, how do we ask? Oh, damn, I should hit the Twitch chatters with that. How do we ask like a big boy? That's what I ask him. And he'll be like, Dad, can I have juice, please? I'm like, you've
now unlocked step number 7 in the Veritas' guide to have everybody think that he's a condescending asshole, because you have to talk to them like they're children, because
how do we
very
ask?
often they act like children. Not all of them.
No.
Not most of the time, but just enough that it gets you to be like, you want to try that again?
Yeah, 100%. It's
this time with a please. You know, like, well, when I go into XQC's channel and I try all the commands, it's like, yeah, because nobody fucking cares about any of the things that anybody is saying. It's a bunch of people in a mosh pit, right?
Yep. Dude. Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. Oh, that's funny. But yeah, so improved hit registry, improved hit reg, increased accuracy of positioning, reduce the chance of desync, network traffic optimizations. These things are concepts that are hard for gamers to understand. It's hard to know a baseline. It is very understood that the desync in Tarkov is awful and the network is atrocious, but that doesn't make me, I can know that to be true, and that doesn't make me an authority on how fixes for those things should be implemented or what works. So, once again, I know by making these statements, I piss off 2 camps of people. I piss off the people that want me to hate on BSG, and I piss off the people that want me to say, well, they changed it, so it's perfect. But the reality is that I can't tell you a definitive answer. Is it better? But I can tell you that in my experience today, it felt better, and I didn't die to desync once, and I have been gigamalding about it recently. My patience for it has been so much less. So the fact that I didn't die to it felt refreshing. And on the flip side, similar thing with hit reg. This one I felt more strongly about, but that doesn't mean I ruled out placebo. Does that make sense? Almost because I felt more strongly about it, I believed even more that it was placebo. But the amount of times fights just felt... Okay. The amount of times per stream, an average amount of times per stream, I yell into the microphone, "How are you not dead?" is like 8.7 per 8-hour stream, right? And I yelled that exactly 0 times today. Maybe I yelled it at Sanitar, right? But not a PMC and not a scav. The amount of times I freaking just shot a scav in the face and he fell over dead. Also, there's a number of per stream how many times I shoot a scav in the forehead. He has a bullet hole. I look in the camera. I've got TikToks of it. It's in all my highlight videos. That happened 0 times today. Now, I'm not taking off the table that that's placebo.
I know exactly where you're coming from.
I give it 50-50 that it's placebo.
Here's the thing. I know exactly what's going through your head. What's going through your head is, honestly, I think it feels like there's a good change. Like something feels good. But I'm not going to say that because everybody will get the wrong impression because that's
or if it's good today and it gets progressively worse, someone's going to find my VOD of me saying it's good on a day it's bad and tweet it. You know what I mean? But as a guy who sucks at Tarkov but plays it 50 hours a week, the hit reg, I felt like the desync, I was like, I don't know, man. I haven't died to desync yet, but that's all I can tell you. The hit reg, I was like, damn, like it kind of feels better. I don't know if it's placebo, but it kind of feels better.
Did you play yesterday?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wait, was the patch today?
This morning, yeah.
Okay, so you played yesterday.
Yep.
So you're saying like today and yesterday, it felt different?
Felt different.
with an asterisk, whereas like I'm not saying, I know it could be all the caveats that you have to make that we shouldn't have to fucking constantly make because people can't be like nobody can be fucking reasonable.
Yeah, absolutely. Asterisk, all those things. It could have been that 3 Thursdays ago I also had a day where all the scavs I one tapped died, but because there wasn't a patch, I just wasn't thinking about it, right? But it felt clean today, and I even had people in chat say so. I had some of my mods, like I had like Adam was texting me and being like, that fight felt crazy good, like super long engagement PvP fights on interchange, like, and it was just like we were like, that felt clean. Like, did you like? I was trioing with Airwing and Velian, and it was like we were all trying to not be that guy. It was like, how'd that feel for you? And it was like, that felt pretty good. We were trying not to be like, oh, it's fixed. You know what I mean? But it was like, oh, that felt pretty good. So I don't know. I'm very aware that it could be placebo, but the hit rate felt better. Now, I will say once again, because I felt like I couldn't even trust my own opinion because of how many times I had been asked, I reached out to Desmond and somebody else and was like, and literally said, what do you think about the patch? I value your opinion. And I don't even know. I doubt everything. I doubt myself. What do you think? Yeah. And they both said, Desmond said, haven't run into desync yet, but haven't played very long. Definitely going to pay attention, but most everything feels the same, which I guess is not a bad thing. And then I asked Trey as well, and he said, if nobody told me there was an update, I would not have known. And I want to highlight the fact which
after hearing that, I have no more information than I did before. Yes.
But I want to highlight the reason why I brought that up is because I'm very aware I could be drinking the Kool-Aid and I could think the hit bridge feels better and it doesn't. I could think that the desync was better and it wasn't. I'm very aware of that. However, both of the people I asked are very critical of Tarkov. And will not lie to me. Like, will 100% give it to me blunt. I truly, in my heart, believed that if this was the patch where we were carving out a chunk of the netcode of this video game and replacing it in 6 hours, my expectation was that the game was going to be unplayable for 5 days. Like, that was mentally where I was at. Like, it's going to crash every third game. The desync is going to be worse. There's going to be crazy rubber banding. It's going to be like atrocious while they try to find all the goddamn wires to connect. I was like, this game is going to be broken. So with that as my expectation, being told I can't tell a difference is crazy good in my, like, to me, I don't care. Call me a shill. That is a W. The fact that it just even feels the same.
Okay. Translating this as someone who's a couple steps removed from this.
Yeah.
What I just heard was like a battered wife saying, Tom came in late last night.
Didn't beat me.
He was completely and utterly hammered. He threw a beer bottle into the TV again, but he didn't hit me this time. I think things might be coming around. Like, it's that kind of vibe.
You know what? That makes sense. I feel that way. I feel like I've been hit by some beer bottles via Tarkov patches. But that's just the truth, man. I expected this wipe to be a patch to be awful, and if the worst
it wasn't awful, and you're excited.
Yeah, the worst.
I love what this game has done to us.
The worst criticism I have heard is that it feels the same. And dude, maybe it's because BSG has beaten me down so far that my standards are so low, or maybe it's because progress is being made. But either way,
how big was the patch?
W.
Like, how big was the download?
I think it's 500 megabytes.
Bro, it was probably 3 JPEGs, and one file that pointed to like a new data provider, and then the 6 hours was them switching over from like Cloudflare to like Amazon servers, and they didn't do any like.
Sure.
But the way you described it is like they replaced a shit ton of infrastructure and like a ton of code and whatever.
Because that's because I understand so little, and I acknowledge that I understand so little, and you're absolutely right. Like.
I'm not saying you're wrong.
I never even considered that, right? Where they like, I know so little about how coding works that I didn't even consider that they could build it all over here, and then basically all the changes is like instead of looking here, just look here, boom, and it could be that. I don't know why it took 6 hours, but it could be that.
The patch notes, because like, we'll think about it. What would take 6 hours?
I have no idea.
Typically what it is propagation of an update to all of the servers.
Yeah.
Which I wonder how they handle if people are playing when the patch goes. Do they all just disconnect mid-raid?
I don't know.
Do you think that because like a more elegant solution is you wait until the raid is done and then you take down that server, like once not server,
it like starts cascading, so like from the minute they take it down, the maximum amount of time is like 50 minutes or whatever the longest raid is.
So and then once it's down, they'll fucking like literally there'll be scripts that'll like reboot the fucking OS, or it'll be a bunch of fucking console commands. Have you ever gone into, I'm sure you have, when you're like troubleshooting shit, or from some like Reddit post about how to fix like the frame rate in Tarkov, it's like run CMD, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
It's just a bunch of things where it's like, download this, start this process, start logging in this area, delete a file at this directory. Like it's just a whole bunch of shit like that.
Yeah.
All of that stuff has to happen, and it has to propagate to all of the servers. I don't know why it would take 6 hours. I don't know enough about games in general. We talked about REST APIs last week.
Yeah.
All of my experience has been with basically all REST APIs that always have mobile clients pointing to them as well as websites pointing to them. Now, when you like update the backend, if you hit like F5, the page changes on the website and you've gotten the update, right? If you have an iPhone, unless you have some weird janky like embedded mobile like web shit, which I fucking hate, I prefer native, then usually what happens is like you submit to the app store like that day, and then you'll get like the updated app that points to the new stuff. Once Apple approves it in 24 hours to 24 days, depending on, and then with Android, typically you can just fucking push it to the store. Like Apple has this whole review process where they launch.
Oh, interesting.
Maybe I've been out of the game for enough years that maybe they fucking changed everything. It's been like it's been 3 years, which is like an eternity. But like typically with Android is you upload an update and they're like, cool, well, let's just drag and drop it metaphorically into like the folder, and people just start downloading it from there.
Yeah.
Whereas Apple, they'll download it and they'll be like, it crashed on the launch screen, like we're not approving this anymore. It's been rejected, and then you have to make a change, resubmit it, wait another 3 days. 3 days goes by, they have manual testers go through, like there's this whole thing. In those situations, whenever we would deploy an update, it was like 15 minutes of crossing our fingers, making sure nothing went down, and it was done.
Yeah.
And we're talking about multi-billion-dollar, like billion-dollar, million-user, like worldwide website mobile clients.
That's crazy.
Hundreds of thousands of active users. Like, because what you're talking about is ultimately it's a folder, a directory on some Linux box somewhere without a monitor connected to it, with maybe it's Linux, maybe it's Windows, whatever, right? That just starts running a process and accesses files inside of folders. Like it's far simpler than people think. So I don't know why it would take that long.
I wonder if genuinely they deploy it for an hour and they spend like a few hours like playing it. Like somebody just being like, is anything obviously broken? You know what I mean? And then they can like tinker.
I
I
mean,
don't know.
maybe there's some server hardware stuff that they like disconnect, take everything down, reboot all the machines to like clear out
Yeah.
all the memory leaks that they've inevitably been accruing.
Yeah.
It might just be like we're taking as much time as we need
Yeah.
to go as slow as possible to make sure that we do all the things right.
It makes me think so because like the past few patches, when they gave a downtime, the game came up at like exactly the downtime range. Like, you know what I mean? So it almost makes me feel like they were just taking their time, crossing their T's, dotting their I's, and then they just like, you know, I don't know. But but yeah, I understand that vibe. You know, he didn't beat me tonight. The weirdness of just like it wasn't atrocious, so that's a W. Like I understand how like scuffed of a statement that is, but just with how bad the past few big patches have been and like how bad this wipe was, it just, I don't know, it was genuinely a surprise to me that so little was broken, I guess, if that makes sense. I
want to see what was the exact wording real quick of the patch. Let me pull up because now I want to know exactly
of what.
Did they say what the what they were doing? Like where did you read the whole like network?
Yeah, so the top of the patch notes. The key goal of the update was to fundamentally change the architecture of player display and synchronization on the client and their connection to the server. So that doesn't necessarily that doesn't mean that they took this out or did this thing, but the goal was to fundamentally.
No, I mean that sounds like I don't know if there's an English-Russian thing here.
Yeah.
But if I was saying that, that's the equivalent of like I have put in an aftermarket V8 engine into this car that before had a stock V6. Like
that's what it reads to me too.
It sounds like a massive fucking change. So hearing that, the fact that they didn't completely fuck something up is like a good thing, but at the same time, what's the fucking point of this massive change if there's no tangible difference in the way it feels?
Well, but that's the thing though, is that like, if it worked perfectly, there would just be less desync. There was less desync today, but that doesn't mean, it's like, if it worked perfectly, there'd be less desync, but there being less desync doesn't inherently mean it works perfectly. So that's
because there's been plenty of days where there's no desync in the past on shit.
So a square is a rectangle, but a rectangle is not always a square. That's where we're at, is like, my experience today could have been, it worked perfectly and the desync was very minimal and the hit reg felt good. But
oh, okay, wait. It also says,
but it just
like
could have been something else. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Reduce the chance of desync with the server. Increase the number of network entities in RAID.
That's only on streets.
So that, I mean, part of that might have been, like you had said there's a shit ton of scavs.
Yeah.
That was a huge portion of both client and I'm sure server performance issues, was all of the scavs.
Yeah.
Fundamentally change the architecture of player display and synchronization.
Yep.
It's clumsily worded, but listen, I'll give them the fucking language barrier thing. The architecture of player display and synchronization on the client and their connection to this. I mean, fuck, dude, I don't know.
I don't know. Once, it's
I don't know what to think.
All I can give is 7 hours of playtime. Boom. Those are my thoughts. Now, there's a lot more to go through on the patch notes. However, before we
reduce damage to blackout limbs? Sorry.
We'll get there. Because that's a spicy meatball. All right?
Speaking of spicy meatballs.
I didn't even mean to do that. Speaking of spicy meatballs, I want to take a second and thank the sponsor for this episode, and that is Factor. Now that we're in the thick of summer, you might be looking for some wholesome, convenient meals to support your sunny, active days. Factor is America's #1 ready-to-eat meal kit and can help fuel you up. Factor is awesome. Factor is the ready-to-eat meal kit, which means that the food that you get every week in your boxes, all you got to do is heat it up. So, perfect for gamers, perfect for literally, you want to know what I had on lunch yesterday? Nothing.
Tell me more.
Nothing, because I didn't have anything to eat, and I'm gaming, and I don't want to do anything. You know what I have for lunch today? A protein shake. So I need some freaking Factor because I don't like making food while I'm streaming. Like, I don't want to go make a sandwich or a thing. I don't like being away from my computer when I'm streaming for more than a few minutes. So Factor, ready to eat. All you got to do is heat it up. It is awesome. There are 34 or more weekly restaurant quality options that you can choose from. They have crazy stuff like shrimp risotto, grilled steakhouse filet mignon. Stuff is ready in about 2 minutes and very customizable, which to me is super important on how many meals you get per week, what type of meals you would like. You want extra protein, you want veggie or whatever. They work with dietitians and chefs to make these things, and it's awesome, man, and it tastes good.
Bro, you know what I've been on recently? The chocolate brownie shake.
Oh, yeah.
Bro, it's actually unbelievably good.
Yep.
All of the shakes and the smoothies, I think, are my favorite.
Yeah, that's so true. Part. That's so true. They sent us a bunch of the smoothies and a bunch of the shakes that you can have, so you can like add. So like there's a lot of stuff you can pick your meals, and then there's a bunch of stuff you can add on for, once again, a very similar thing, which is like quick and easy, but not just your meal, shakes, smoothies, stuff like that. And those were, so good.
Yeah, my wife drank all the ones that I put aside for myself, so we have to have a talk about that.
Yeah. So 34 plus meals per week, over 45 add-ons like the shakes you can choose from. They have calorie-conscious options that are around or less than 550 calories per serving, tons of customizability, and they're making a lot of effort towards sustainable choice. We offset their delivery emissions and source 100% renewable electricity. Everything, all the boxes and stuff you get in is all recyclable. So it's awesome. So you can head to factor75.com/pogcast50 and use code pogcast50 to get 50% off. That is code PODCAST50 at factor75.com/pogcast50. 50% off. That's a pretty solid deal. So yeah, thank you so much, Factor, America's #1 ready-to-eat meal kit, for sponsoring this episode.
Also, I'm going to send you something real quick on a completely unrelated note.
I want it.
Just take a look at that real quick. We'll have to chat about that at some point. Fucking A. Yeah.
Okay. Yep. Okay. So.
Yep.
So let's continue down the patch notes.
I was just so confused. I had a fucking website in front of me that was like server maintenance. Once again, I'm like, why the fuck am I looking at? Oh, right, Tarkov.
Yeah. Okay, so the reason I wanted to break before, because the next thing, the last thing on networking related things, was memory consumption optimization. Brother, there is an atrocious memory leak. This is one of the L's, one of the like most.
They didn't fix the memory leak?
No, they created a new one. They created a terrible one.
Spoiler alert, every piece of software that you've ever run that was more complex than Hello World, and probably half of the Hello Worlds that have ever been made, have at least like 6 memory leaks in them.
Yeah.
Just so you're aware.
So that's fine. I
only say that because people talk about, it's a meme, at least in my channel, the meme of, did they fix the memory leak?
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, like you could have said that about the Titanic. Like, did they fix the hole in the hull?
Yeah.
Like, bro, it's the ship's in two pieces, man. There ain't just one leak there.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. So that's good to know because I don't really know anything about memory leaks. Now, what I will say is that there's a new one or an old one that got worse and it's really bad. I had my FPS counter up because so as a part of Unity 2021, and I think Nice Guy got some confirmation about this, as a part of Unity 2021 not being before this patch, there are some things that were on the roadmap in 13.1 that were very hinged on Unity 2021. So that's why they released the patch notes, because the 13.1 patch notes, there are some things missing that were on the 13.1 roadmap. And those things are like the new culling system that they have on streets. They were going to put on all the other locations and increase FPS across the board. There was literally a noticeable increase in FPS in online raids. That is in the roadmap, but that's not in the patch notes. But I hadn't realized it at the time, so I had my FPS counter up because I was like, oh, are the frames better? And immediately I noticed, I was like, no, they're no better. They're no worse, but they're no better. So I was like, interesting. And then we were playing customs because that's where the bosses were. So it was like 150 FPS. And then the next raid, it was like 111 FPS. And the next raid was like 93 FPS. And then the next raid, it was like 62 FPS. And I was like, what the hell? So we got out of that raid, restarted my game, 170 FPS. I was like, damn. So some people were saying, like Hayes was saying that he saw a lot of luck with checking the auto RAM cleaner in the game settings. He was like, that because that in the past had been like, that doesn't really do anything. But he said that worked. I checked it on and it felt like it took longer to get that bad, but it still got that bad. So I just found it funny because like that, you know, they were like optimize the memory consumption and it's like a really bad memory leak. No, I was talking with Apple, the community manager, and he was like, we're aware, like they're aware and they're like working on it. So, and there have been much worse bugs that have happened in Tarkov in the past, but.
Well, I mean, they're optimizing how much memory they're consuming. They didn't say optimizing how much memory they're giving back.
Yeah,
like,
true.
Do you understand, like, even conceptually?
No. Memory leak?
What a memory leak is?
No. Just my frames get worse over time and I have to restart my game.
When you go to like your kids fucking, I don't know if they're like 19 now or if they're in kindergarten. I don't know kids and ages and grades, right? But is there some like when they go to school? Yeah. Assuming they go to school, right? Mm-hmm. Kids go to school, right? These days, they don't just go on Instagram. I don't know how things work.
Yeah.
Is there like a little fucking wall with like cubbies?
Yeah.
Okay. So here's what Veritas's elaborate metaphor of the day. Imagine that your computer's memory is like a wall of cubbies.
Okay.
And imagine every kid, they come in with a bagged lunch. Okay.
Okay.
And let's say there's like twice as many cubbies as there are kids.
Okay.
They all come in the morning and they put their little bagged lunch in the thing, right? And like so half of the cubbies are used up.
Okay.
And then around lunchtime, they all take their bags off and they, you know, eat their food or whatever. And then some of the kids have Tupperwares, you know, in the fucking baggies and whatever. Some of the kids, it's just like trash, right? Mm-hmm. But it's like afterwards, they'll put their shit back in the little cubbies. And then at the end of the day, what they're supposed to do is take the shit out of the cubbies and go home.
Yeah.
Well, now imagine they don't do that. Imagine some of the kids don't take their shit out of the cubbies. What ends up happening is on a Monday, it's fine. On Tuesday, there's 3 less cubbies. On Wednesday, there's half of the cubbies are full. And then now you're completely used up the capacity. And then on Friday, there's they're just full of trash. And there's no
cubbies.
So now every time a kid comes in, he's got to go, Mrs. Smith, can you help me? There's shit in the cubby. And then someone's got to come over. And then, so it takes way longer than it needs to fucking get the kid to sit down in his chair because you got to. This fucking metaphor is garbage. So, but have you ever heard of garbage collection in this context?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think Unity. I'm probably going to sound stupid to people who know, but I believe Unity uses garbage collection.
Okay.
Historically speaking, one of the biggest issues, it was at least believed that some of those massive stutters was essentially like the janitor coming in, interrupting class, and taking all of the shit out. So it's like, and the janitor's a creepy janitor, right? So everybody in the class just stands there and nobody wants to talk, right? Because he's just a fucking creepy. So that was like the stutter. Now, sometimes it's the fucking scav spawning in, and that's a different thing altogether.
Yeah.
But
sometimes,
but a lot of times, that's the system having to clear up resources because it's run out of fucking resources.
Yeah.
That makes sense. In a nutshell, like, I'm sure you've seen like a line of code before where it says like, integer x equals 5, semicolon, right? Like, you created a variable called x and set a value to it.
Yeah.
Back in the day, in like older programming languages, less modern programming languages, you used to have to manually allocate memory to say, okay, I need, 8 bytes of memory because it's a 32-bit system and an integer is going to take up this many bits of memory, and you need to allocate just the right amount of memory for that variable, and then use the variable, do whatever you want. And what you're doing is you're literally grabbing, and I picture it like cubbies.
Okay.
Where you're just grabbing a random fucking chunk of memory somewhere.
Yeah.
And just writing the ones and zeros to the bits of memory so that chunk of memory is the data that you just created, the variable. So it's the equivalent of, hey, Johnny, which fucking cubby is yours? Oh, it's number 17. Okay, I'll go over to number 17 and I'll grab it. Like, that's literally how the fucking computers work under the covers. More modern languages, you don't have to do that. It does a lot of that on its own. And there's a million ways in which people can fuck it up.
Yeah.
But back in the day, like, if you created an integer, allocated the memory, and then did a bunch of stuff, like, let's say you wanted to print it out on screen or say hello world, right? And then you stop processing, that memory is still the variable, the number, and it's just sitting there marked as used. Nobody else can use it.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And you've now just orphaned a giant chunk of memory. And if you do that enough, that's how you just end up like slogging down the system, because every time you want to go, every time Timmy needs to go and find his lunch, he doesn't remember which cubby his lunch is in. So he's like, is this mine? Nope. Is this mine? Nope. Is this mine? Nope. The more you have, the slower it gets. This is the worst elaborate metaphor ever.
No,
but that's basically a memory leak, is when you just don't fucking clean up after yourself.
Yeah. And that can happen in a million different ways.
And sometimes it's the programmer's fault.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's the programmer's fault. Sometimes it's like Unity probably has a bunch of inherent memory leaks. I bet you Oculus Audio, they have their own bugs that are probably memory leaks. So you're inheriting every other third-party framework you're dropping in for all these other things. You're inheriting some of their memory leaks, right? There's
interesting. Yeah. That actually makes a lot of sense. So like, memory consumption optimization is a different thing. That doesn't mean we fix the memory leaks. That could mean they're just working on making the consumption of memory more efficient, but we still have these problems where.
Well, no, I was joking. I was joking in that it says consumption. You can like, they might as well have said, we're a lot faster at putting our lunch in the cubbies.
Okay.
They could have worded it like that. Like, that's just how I read it, but I bet you it's just, they didn't say, we didn't fix it.
Yeah.
But it's just, I don't know.
We're working on it.
Who knows what they did? I have no fucking idea.
Working on it. But
I have no idea.
There's a pretty bad memory leak happening right now. That's pretty brutal, but they're working on it, and whatever. it's not that big of a deal for me to have to restart my game every few raids. And honestly, when I don't have my FPS counter up, I couldn't tell you if I'm at 150 or 111. I know some people could. Some people are going to say that they don't believe me, but I'm just dumb like that. I don't know.
Bro, the naked eye can't see more than 4 frames a second. Dude, it's scientifically proven. Didn't you see the Linus Tech Tips video? You can't tell the difference between the stop motion flip book animation. You just can't do it.
I did see that video, yeah.
Alert, that was a joke. Alert.
Please, God, stop typing your comment. So then we got some surprise audio things. Major update to the Oculus Spatializer. Fix the positioning issues that could occur with a large number of audio sources playing at the same time. Weapon sound adjustments. Now the sounds of gunshots are more volumetric, with sound positioning retained. Fixed sharp jumps from mono to stereo, and adjusted the interior reverb sounds when the character is wearing active headsets. I did not notice a single audio thing being better. And so I don't know. We played Interchange quite a bit because the bosses were there. We played Shoreline a little bit. We played Customs, inside buildings, outside buildings. I didn't really notice anything changing at all. The only audio related thing that I noticed is that like a lot of people were saying that silent nades are back, but silent nades never left. Like I have a clip from 3 days ago of me and Velian trioing with someone, and a grenade that made absolutely no noise blew up and killed me and Velian. But it seems...
Okay, wait a minute though. What I want to know, because half the time people talk about silent nades. I'm sure that this only applies to a small percentage. Like, I'm not trying to gaslight anybody, but there's no requirement for a grenade to make any noise
when it hits the ground.
Unless you're talking about it doesn't. Well, yeah, but you're assuming it hits the ground.
No,
you can chuck a fucking VOG and it can explode in the air.
Oh yeah, no, but like I just watched the clip back and I see the grenade land. Like you see it come in, land at my feet, and then 1 entire second later it explodes.
Oh well, okay. So I'm not calling into question. Your case,
no,
but I'm saying like there are times where it's like I didn't hear the grenade, and I don't know if people are talking about. Do you think you're supposed to hear the pin? Are you assuming that you didn't hear it hit the ground? Half the time, they're in the middle of a firefight.
Yeah.
So the subtle little tink amongst the
100%.
fucking,
or they're yelling at their Discord partner. Yeah. I've done that a million times where I was like, I didn't hear that nade, and then I watch it back and I'm like, oh, you kind of hear him pull the pin, or like, oh, you do kind of hear it hit the ground. The other thing is that like when some people say silent nades, it could actually not be a grenade thing, because like it could be just an audio in general thing where like sometimes like it's like, yeah, sometimes I've had that where like I can see like there's a door open and I can see Velian running around outside and it sounds like he's like 80 floors below me. You know what I mean? You're like, oh, that's weird. And if a
grenade exploded on the first floor of a stairwell and you're on the 3rd floor.
Exactly. Or if a grenade was thrown in and the audio was weird and then it blew up. But I have clips where like I have a clip, 2 clips in particular I'm thinking of. One I was playing with Desmond and I heard him pull the pin. I heard him throw a grenade and he pushed his own nade and his nade blew up and then another one blew up behind him. And I was literally just like holding the corner watching. And when you watch the clip back, you can see the nade come and land on the ground and then blow up. And he thought I threw it and I was like, what? And it was just like, you could hear the explosion, but you could see it come in and hit the ground. It made no noise. And stuff like that. And so, but it seems more common as of today. Once again, more common is a very not scientific thing, but a lot of people were talking about it. And then it happened to me. This happened to me while Apple was in my chat. And so he was like, I'm clipping this. But Airwing, just to meme on us, threw a flashbang at me and Velian. And literally, we heard absolutely nothing. Our vision went, whoom. And then 3 seconds later, the flashbang blew up. And we were like, whoa. It was like, hey, better late than never, I guess. But like the actual audio of the flashbang blowing up happened like 2 to 3 seconds after we were just completely blind. And so he was like, I'm going to clip that. So that was weird. I don't even know how that happens.
the only thing I can think of is because I've done a little bit of audio stuff. Given that I work on a lot of server and mobile,
Yeah.
very rarely do you ever deal with audio shit. I've done like VoIP calling before, but the few things that I've done with audio, typically what you have to do is there's like the operating system or some other entity is responsible for like playing the audio, and you're kind of like asking it nicely if you can play this for me.
Yeah.
Usually it involves like requesting to have audio added to like a buffer or something. Maybe there's a bug with either their audio implementation or the spatializer or whatever it is, where the audio got queued up, but for some reason the operating system wasn't able to play the sound until later on for whatever reason. Because otherwise I can't think of why. Like, I'm just envisioning there being a function in the code that's like process flashbang, right? And I know this isn't how it is, but like line 1 is calling a function that says blind player. Line 2 is calling a function that says play flashbang noise. You know, line 3 is, you know, like whatever. So you would think that they would be like linked, but then again, you would also think that like that getting shot and blood splattering would be linked to damage. And other things, right? So who the fuck knows how it works under the covers? It also could have been, well, I was gonna say desync, but the thing is that like you got blinded. It's not like it's gonna send a message saying, "Hey, blind them," and then a separate message to say, "Hey, also play the noise."
This noise.
Right? It should be one thing, so it had to be client side. Now wait a minute, did that happen for both of you guys? Wait, so it happened for more than one person? Then that means that says to me it's unlikely that it was like an audio queuing thing, because that's like a very like individualized system thing. You know, like that's not something that would ever happen to two people at the same time. It's just fucking like far too unlikely. So that sounds like just more of an underlying bug.
And it was weird because that was also weird because most of the reports and most of the clips I'd seen were just completely silent nades, where like the nade just doesn't make noise. I even had some where it didn't even make noise.
Well, the difference is that you die. No, but you die with a grenade.
No, I've had ones that just hurt me. Like,
no, I know, but what you're saying is that people say they died without hearing it. With the flashbang example, you got blinded, and then 3 seconds later, you heard the thing. With a grenade, you die, and then 3 seconds later, your screen's black and you're disconnected from the raid, so you wouldn't hear it. So it could be the same thing.
But I've had raids where the grenade that I didn't know existed landed a little bit too far away from me, and I saw the explosion and I took damage, but I didn't die. Does that make sense?
And you're saying there was no grenade sound?
None. Yeah.
I've never experienced that ever.
I've experienced that.
The only thing I ever experienced is like a nanosecond to react to a grenade before I die.
Yeah.
But never.
No.
I've never just like fallen over and then gone to the death screen and saw that it was like RGD.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Interesting.
I have many times. And so yeah, the silent grenade issue definitely never left. But the amount of people telling me that it's back makes me think it's like, okay, maybe it's a little bit worse. Whatever happened is it's slightly worse now. You know what I mean?
Bro, Twitch chat, 500 IQ, light travels faster than sound. Easy, case closed. You know, he says that and he's memeing, right? I remember having this conversation with somebody, unironically trying to argue that like the reason why you like die and don't hear the shot is because like, oh, the speed of sound is low, and it's like,
oh my god,
like the guy's got he's got Realism magazine art, like
oh my god,
wrapped around his you know what, one hand on that and one hand on the fucking keyboard.
No shot, bro.
I don't even remember exactly what the context was,
that's
dude,
brutal.
But oh fuck,
dude, light travels faster than sound. But yeah, so all that to say, the sound things of like major updates to the Oculus spatializer, stuff like that. I'm not saying they did nothing, but I'm just saying I didn't notice anything at all audio related.
It seems to be a trend.
Yeah, audio still sucks. Now,
So all of these massive changes they've made, and so far all I've heard is it seems like there's a memory leak, more of a memory leak.
and
Nothing else got worse except a little memory leak.
I felt like there was less desync, but I don't know. Okay, here's a doozy. Okay? Reduce the damage to blacked out limbs by 30%. Veritas. What do you think that means?
Okay, wait a minute. Reduce the damage. Here's the mental like hoop I just went through.
Yeah.
I mean, so reduce the damage to blacked out limbs. Could you have worded it or phrased it any more confusingly? Because like technically, your blacked out limbs don't take damage.
Correct.
Your blacked out limbs spread the damage all over the place,
correct.
right? So what does that mean? Does that mean it's possible that what they did? There's two interpretations.
Hit me.
They took, let's say you get hit in the arm, blacked out arm, and it was 100 damage. It's possible they said, no, not 100, it's 70, and then passed it through the code that has always existed, which does, God, it's been so long, let me see if I can remember.
Yeah.
Which basically will propagate it to the limbs in logic that I'm not going to go through, but effectively, if it's in the arm, you're already taking a 30% reduction.
Yeah.
Because it's basically 0.7 multiplier.
Yeah.
Spread out the rest of the body. If it's your legs, it's just a 1.0. Nothing changes if you get hit in the legs. If it's stomach, I believe it was 1.5.
Yeah, I couldn't remember if it was 1.5 or 1.3, but it was an addition.
I thought maybe 1.3. I don't remember. It's been so fucking long. So it's possible that now it's 0.4, 0.7, and 1.2, right?
Yeah.
Or it's possible that 30%. Wait a minute. The question is there a difference? Math, the fucking fucking I can't remember the name of the not transitive property. Where you have like, never mind. Fucking, we're not doing like 7th grade algebra here.
Yeah, I don't remember my 7th grade algebra.
It's actually,
but reduced damage to blacked out limbs by 30%.
Not order of operations, you dinguses.
PEMDAS, baby.
Why are you all saying order of operations? It's not order of operations. It's like there's no difference between saying 1/2 times 1/2 times 1/3 times 1/5 or 1/5 times 1/2 times 1/2 times 1/3.
Yeah.
It's all the fucking same. Like, fuck, dude. I don't think that there's a difference
in how, like, if it took the 30% here or there, like it would all add the same.
Here's the deal. This is one of those things that it's such a stupidly obvious, simple thing. I'm just so fucking tired.
Yeah.
While also being cognizant of, like, if I were to try to take a moment and tune out everything that's going on, the audience and everything, and think about it, all I'll think about is everybody's looking at me and I'm taking too long to think about it, and I can't, and I'm not actually thinking about it. So I can't remember. I don't know. I think there is not a difference, and it also doesn't matter because I guarantee you they probably did it wrong anyway.
Yeah. So what actually happened was
wait, really?
So I interpreted it, and many people in the community interpreted it as, if I have a blacked leg and I got shot in that blacked out leg, whatever formula it does to distribute the damage to my body, I should have 30% less damage distributed.
Take that whole formula, put parentheses around it, and divide by... Yeah.
That's what everybody was like, this is nice. Increase time to kill a little bit, make it not so brutal to get shot. Like, this is like, so many people were like, W, sweet. Because remember, the patch notes came out before the patch. And so everybody was like, this is a great change. The I don't know how this was calculated. The math doesn't math to me. But when the patch came out, Rengar did some testing to actually see if it was real. And then he tweeted out, he was like, the damage reduction is only happening to your arms and your legs. So if you got shot and then it does its math and it says, I'm going to do 10 damage to your leg and 10 damage to each arm. And let's just say for the ease of math, 10 damage to your thorax, 10 damage to your head, 10 damage to your stomach. It would then apply the 30%, but only to arms and legs. So it would be 10 to stomach, 10 to thorax, 10 to head, 7 to arms, and 7 to legs. And we were like, oh, it's a bug. And then they were like, it's not. That was how it was intended. Nice guy. He was like, I just got confirmation this was how it was intended. And,
okay, so wait a minute.
And everybody was like,
there's
what?
A couple of things here. This is one of those cases where I have like context and information that's way too complicated and like boring and pointless to actually get into. But I'm now seeing like 19 potential points of confusion that could happen. What I first would want to know is, I remember like the first Rengar video I watched, I think it was on this same kind of topic when he was it's when he was talking about why he doesn't wear armor that covers his stomach.
Yeah.
Or why he does. I forget, right?
But he brought up
during that period he brought up the calculation. Okay. His explanation at the time was accurate. Now, I literally, like, I've been gone for so long out of this world. I could not tell you if that was 900 years ago or if that was yesterday.
Yeah.
It's all a blur. I know they changed it. Remember how they redid?
Yes. Yeah.
After fucking Nikita was like, oh, what? That's not how it's supposed to, you know, after we talked to him, he changed it. But the problem is that, like, I know exactly what they meant to do. Yeah. And they did it, except there were still edge cases.
Yes.
There was still like logical flaws in.
So how it was?
Did Rengar account for those changes? Because that would potentially account for what confused him if he was still working under the old assumption.
No, I do see what you mean. So like the old way was like, once again, the math is more complicated than this, but like for simplicity, if you got shot in a blacked out limb and it said, hey, I'm going to do 10 damage to all of the remaining limbs. If you had a blacked out arm and a blacked out leg, the 10 damage that was supposed to go to that leg and the 10 damage supposed to go to that arm just fell off. And you didn't get that. And that was what we brought up to Nikita. And he was like, oh, it's not supposed to do that. So then they redid it where if you have those limbs, it reintroduces that 20 lost damage back in. But the edge case was if the damage that then goes to an arm then blacks out an arm, you're still losing a little bit of that damage.
Because it's not reapplying.
It's not then going, oh, I was supposed to apply 20 damage to this arm. This arm only had 3 HP. I then regained 17 more. That's what never happened.
And there's one clarification that I want you to think about, because you shouldn't think about it in terms of, and I know you're just giving a made-up example, but you shouldn't think about it in terms of numbers. You should think about it in terms of proportions.
Yes. Yeah.
So if you have the health bar in the head and the health bar in the arms, and the legs, right? Let's say they're all full, and you just keep shooting in the stomach. All of the bars they'd go orange, green. They would change exactly the same amount.
Yes,
but that would be like 10%. Of the bar. 10% of the head would be like 3. 10% of the arm would be like 6.
And
right?
10% of the thorax is 8. Yeah.
And the way that those numbers were calculated was basically it would take all of the total damage, and it would say, okay, the head accounts for 6% of the total health pool of the body. Yeah. So we're going to give it 6% of this damage.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to clarify.
No, you're right. I wasn't like, whenever I explain it, I like remember that being a thing, but I was like, man, I really don't remember exactly how that went down. So I was like, okay, I'm not gonna bring that up. But I was like, yeah, it definitely is weird. But Rengar's testing today, that didn't really matter because it was in offline raids where it was a completely healthy PMC and it was just shot into the leg until the leg was blacked out. The rest of the body was healed up, and then we would just shoot to the leg. And you would see that those proportions were different now, where the arms and legs were taking a noticeably less amount of damage, but the thorax, stomach, and head were not. And then once clarification was sought out, BSG said, no, that is exactly what we intended. The reduction of the damage only applies to limbs.
So what I want to know is, if you shot someone in the leg with 100 damage bullet, did your HP go down by 70? Because that's the way it used to be.
Yeah.
No, sorry. Not. It used to be your health would go down by 100 because your leg, the multiplier was 1.
Yeah.
You know, it was just 1.1.0. So you would see your health go from, you know, like 410 or whatever it is with a blacked out leg to 310.
Yeah.
Now, I would expect after what they said that the total. So what was like, because that's how you determine the actual percentage.
It would go down.
If it was like
it would go down by like 80 or 85 or something because it wasn't 70.
It wasn't
correct. It wasn't a 30% reduction to the entire damage. It would split it up and then do an additional calculation on, is this a limb? Yes. Reduce the damage by 30%. Is it a thorax, stomach, or head? Yes. Keep the calculation. And so the question was,
bro, I dodged a bullet. I almost spent a month re-architecting Battle Buddy to do the formulas again when they made those changes. I'm so fucking glad I just didn't.
Dude, and then
I'm so glad.
The question was, why? Right? Because it felt like reducing the damage to blacked out limbs, if you just consider it as all like the damage to your entire body, that was like, everybody was like, yes, W, this is gonna extend the time to kill a little bit without in any way affecting the like one tap ability, right? Like a headshot's still a headshot. You can't black out a thorax, right? You hit me 2 times with M80 to thorax and I'm gonna die. So it extends the time to kill, but only situationally, right? In good ways, people were like really about it. And then it was like, what? But why? Why only apply to limbs? Like the only thing I could think of was like, they were like, people are using CMSs too often. So like, we'll make it so your limbs don't black as fast, but like, it's not really.
It's such an irrelevant.
Yeah. It's like, it's not really going to have any sort of meaningful effect on time to kill because it's only factoring in so few things. But at the same time, we just like, the question was why. And so that was my thing, was like, in order to give proper feedback, like, because everybody was saying it was bugged because nobody could understand why. And I was like, okay, this is getting confusing. We're not getting good feedback done here, because if everyone thinks it's bugged, they'll think it'll be fixed eventually and no one's going to say anything. And if BSG thinks that it's just working fine and it's whatever, it was just like getting weird. And so I reached out and I was like, hey, do you mind if I ask what the intention was? You know what I mean? And he never ended up getting back to me. He was like, I'll try and figure it out. Like, but he confirmed. Anyways, I was talking about how I thought that was a pretty irrelevant change, that only making it apply to the arms and legs doesn't do enough to warrant a change. And it debated people, and it showed how many people were excited about this. And then like Nice Guy started doing polls, and he was like, do you think it should also include the head and thorax? And like thousands and thousands of people were voting, and they said yes. And I was talking to my community and Rengar's community because he was talking about it too. And then Apple came back in my chat and he was like, hey, we changed it. Now it applies to everything. Now it is exactly as you thought when you read it. Like, now the 30% damage applies to everything. So if it's 100 damage and you get shot in the leg, it should do 70 damage to your body now, because it's the 1 times multiplier of your leg and it's 30% less damage.
So the only way that that's meaningful, because the way you described what it was before they fixed it, the way you described it, my intuition tells me that the time to kill would be identical.
Yeah.
Because the only thing that matters is your chest
and your head
health bar or your head health bar. So theoretically, right? When you get shot, if it would go down by like a quarter, it doesn't matter what the other limbs do. You have 3 more shots and you die.
Yes.
It doesn't matter if the limbs take less.
Yes.
They could make it so the limbs took no damage.
Yeah.
That it was only and it would be the same thing.
Yeah, because as long as it was proportionally reducing, your head and your thorax, you're going to die in whatever amount of shots. Yeah, you're absolutely right. So now this is a change. Now, what's funny is that like people obviously blew out of proportion. People were like, rip leg meta, like I was so mad at how many people dude, I was frustrated with how many people were calling this a leg meta nerf. Will it undoubtedly have an effect on leg meta? Yes. But like, dude, this is not a leg meta nerf. I cannot explain to you if you're sitting in a corner or in a bush with a vector or a keter that shoots 1,000 rounds per minute with flesh damage rounds, the time to kill difference here is milliseconds. If this wasn't in the patch notes, you wouldn't know. Like, you might have to hit 1 or 2 more shots out of your laser beam leg meta ammo. Like, it is not a huge leg meta nerf. You know what I mean? Like, now some people did some testing and like,
and if it was, then people would actually they'd have to play the game properly and fucking aim for your actual vital organs.
Bada bing!
And then rather than go from fucking 9 bullets to 11 bullets, it would be 9 bullets to center of mass, where the first 2 bullets would have to zero out the armor, and then the other bullet, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or sorry, the first 7 bullets would zero out the armor, and then the remaining 2 would kill you.
It's
all the fucking same.
It's crazy because like this wipe, I've seen the least amount of face shields I've ever seen. You can't buy Altons anymore. You can't buy wrist tees anymore. And I never see people wearing exfils with face shields. It's all ULAX, and I'd still rather just shoot you in the face. You know what I mean? It's just still 1 bullet to the face as opposed to
headphones.
11 bullets. Yeah.
But imagine you could use. Imagine you could have Sordons under the like tier 4, like the helmets that like the Reshala guards wear.
Yeah.
Not the Kivers.
No, the ZSH, not the LZSH,
actually, even
but
the Kiver, right?
If
So either the ZSH or even the Kiver, right? If it was like level 3, whatever, if you could wear headphones, then you'd see way more people use it, right?
Yeah. So
and also you couple that with they actually improved the way in which you can fucking repair face shields, so that you didn't buy it once. It takes 1 bullet, is almost full HP, but you're blinded because you can't see anything, and then you need to replace it.
Yeah.
Then way more people would use face shields.
Yeah. So now, before somebody puts in chat, yes, a few people, I think Logical One Peg did some testing, or one of them. The KS-23, the Shrap 25 rounds will no longer one-tap you in the legs, and the Shrap 10 rounds will only one-tap you in the legs if all 8 pellets hit. If one of them misses, it won't one-tap you in the legs. But that...
W.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That is in no way... I mean, I'm still team delete the KS-23 from the game, so I'll take that as a W. But that does not mean that leg meta is gone. Now, once again, I'm pro just shoot someone in the face. I think you have a higher success rate of killing someone. But like, if you've got a vector with rip rounds, a 45 vector with rip rounds, a Glock 18C with rip rounds, if you've got a Keter with SP7 or SP8, whichever one, you probably will not notice a difference in time to kill. If you do, it'll be so minimal. Like, it's we talked about this with shotguns. Like, if something is OP by a magnitude of 10 and it's nerfed to OP by a magnitude of 5, it doesn't mean it's not OP. Like, just because it's nerfed doesn't mean, like, you can still leg meta the absolute shit out of people in this video game. I am confident of that. But dude, even, oh man, it's the amount of people literally label it the leg meta nerf. It just made me mad because I think it's such a W for the health of the game, and it was just like co-opted as the leg meta thing. You know what I mean? Like that BSG was coming down on leg meta, and they're coming down on people who play the game the way they don't want them to play. When in reality, it was a W. It was something that so many people in the community have been asking for so long. You know what I mean? I talked about it in my PvP video. You know how many people came by the stream or commented on the PvP video where I talked about how they should reduce that? And we're like, I am a casual. I only play a few times a week. And this, dude, I would love for them to do that. I'm a chat. I talked to Desmond. He's like, dude, absolutely. They should reduce that damage. Like, it's something that people have wanted for so long. And so for it to just be co-opted as the leg meta nerf, and it's this thing that was specifically BSG engineered this change to mess with the leg meta enjoyers, like it just is frustrating, especially since what happened today was they made a change. We were like, this change makes no sense. We would prefer this change. And then they changed it. Like that's like an important, cool thing that rarely happens. And so for it to just be like the leg meta nerf, I don't know. Maybe it frustrates me more than it should. But
I cringe every time I hear anybody just say leg meta.
Yeah.
Because it's such a, like, nobody knows. None of the people that talk about leg meta in 2023 know the fucking origin of the phrase from OG Tarkov way back in the day. You know, when you would one tap someone with a fucking two tap someone with a TT. Yeah. When they were when they were wearing fucking Ford armor, you know, like, and a kiver when that was the best shit.
Yeah.
Or then how that was co-opted into the fact that scavs only shot you in your legs, and all of the myths and bullshit that followed from that, how scavs aim for your legs because you wear armor.
Yeah.
And then I had to debunk that whole myth. And then the whole, I just hate the whole concept. When I hear leg meta, the phrase, I die inside every time.
Yeah. So does, like, this goes back to a square is a rectangle, but a rectangle is not always a square. Does leg meta get affected by this? Absolutely. But that doesn't make it the leg meta nerf. It was a change, in my opinion, a really good change to the overall damage being taken and applied. You know what I mean? I like when I saw the reduced 30%, I didn't think of leg meta at all. I thought of just all the times I've died because I got shot once, got a blacked out limb, and then I got shot again, and the bullet fragmented into the blacked out arm, and I just like fell over dead. And I was like, what the hell? You know what I mean? Like that was crazy. You know what I mean? Or like getting one shot to the stomach. I don't know. So
now on the flip side, though, one of my most frustrating things that I can remember in like recent Tarkov history is arms being level 100 armor.
Yeah.
So this makes that worse.
Correct.
So,
but it just hasn't felt that way in a really long time.
If anything, like, I'm gonna play devil's advocate and entertain the leg meta nerf folks and say it's now worse to shoot center of mass, because now you have beefier level 110 armor in front of the level 6 armor in front of the thorax.
Yeah.
So you could even potentially make the argument that it's still better to shoot for the legs, maybe more than ever.
Yeah. I see what you're saying.
Now everybody now it's a leg meta buff, and this is going to be the new fucking trend.
Yeah, no.
Honestly though, I feel like the time to kill center mass right now is probably it probably went up more than the time to kill to the legs, proportionately.
Yeah. The arm thing hasn't been something I've noticed in a while, though. I don't know if they just cleaned up the hitboxes and made them smaller, but like.
But you're let me say this though. You're probably rocking like DMRs and good caliber guns with voodoos on them. Right?
I mean,
you're not running AKMs, iron sights, where you can't confidently aim for the head and tap. So I just know that that was an issue in like the early and midway, but all you really have are like EOTechs.
It's true. I definitely can't align with different ammos and stuff like that. I use a huge variety of guns. Like the MP7 is my favorite, probably my favorite gun to use, and I use subsonics, which is like the third best ammo because of the recoil reduction. So I use quite a bit of, I'm a full auto Andy, quite a bit of P90s and MP7s and MCXs and stuff that's not top tier. And I still haven't really noticed it. I mean, not on any of those guns, just friggin' EOTechs or Delta points. You know what I mean? I use voodoos? Yes, all the time. SR25 or an M4 with that, but I'm just saying it's not all I run. I run quite a bit of like third best ammo out of an SMG with a red dot and just mag dump people. And I I haven't really noticed the arm thing in a while. But it's also I could just be freaking desensitized to it because I just have played so much, right? So
Yeah.
So anyways, it was an interesting thing. To me, the change is a W, and to me, an incredible W is the fact that like the community managers, like people were making polls on Twitter, people were asking the community. It wasn't like Pestily said this should happen and it happened. Like people did testing, people reacted, people were doing polls, people were talking, the community managers were talking, they gave feedback, and then they made the change. And call me a freaking dick rider or BSG, I don't care. I thought that was cool. I thought that was cool.
Spoiler alert. You guys pointed out that it was like weird and didn't make any sense. They were like, no, it's totally fine. Then they went back, looked at the code and said, oh, we fucked it up. We didn't do it
they
right.
said, oh, we
and then
intended.
they're like, oh, we're going to, then they're like, oh, fucking pat us on the back. We're listening to the community. And they're like, okay, go fix that.
Go fix the freaking. So the next thing is slightly increased blunt damage. Now, this made me mad. Yeah.
Well, why did they do? What did they do? The fucking. Oh, God.
I know. Now
they should have just said buffed all the damage of all bullets by 30%.
Yeah.
Reduce the damage to blocked out limbs by 30%. Yeah. It's like, oh, okay. So you did nothing, is what you mean. Yeah. You did nothing.
So that's what I was worried about. Yes, and they had talked about how like I think someone Velling was saying he was talking to someone and they were saying that like they think that people misunderstand what blunt damage is versus blacked out limb damage and they're trying to find a better balance. Don't quote me on that. I was worried. I was worried of exactly that they -5 here, +5 there. It all ends up the same. So yesterday I recorded in an offline. I had 4 different calibers, 4 different ammos, and 4 different armors that were 100%. And I wrote down how much damage I took. So to a fresh armor, and I know the ammo's not going to pen, shoot me in the thorax. How much damage do I take? Write that down. Next caliber, fresh armor, shoot me. How much damage do I take? Very not scientific, by the way. This was only to create some sort of relative gauge. I didn't want to make a video on it saying that I had done any sort of science. All I wanted to know was just, I want to know for me, how bad is it roughly? So then the first thing that we did today was I did it again, and it was 10%. Like almost exactly 10% across the board. It was there was ammos where I had like that gave me 10 damage to the thorax. Now it was 11. There was one where it was like 12 and now it was like 14. It was basically 10% in my super unscientific testing. So doesn't cancel it out, but it was interesting. So ultimately it's not that big of a deal, but the fact that it's not that big of a deal is almost all the more reason why would you do it? Well, like, why are we increasing damage taken? I don't know.
I'm literally I'm trying to look to see in my ballistics engine code how they calculate if it penetrates. Okay, if it did penetrate, then do that stuff. Otherwise, if it didn't penetrate, 97%.
Yeah, roughly 10%, by the way.
I mean, like looking at the formula, if you had been like, I can't do the math right now, mostly because I don't know, like result. I don't know what the blunt throughput value is. That's one of those like hidden values under the covers that like,
yeah,
I have hard coded in some file somewhere that I haven't looked at, but like it's never in the ammo charts or whatever. If you had been like, it comes out to roughly 10%, then I would have said, sounds about right.
Yeah.
Which is, this code is from, years ago, so I don't know.
So it was weird, and I don't know why they did it, but they did it, and they increased blunt damage by 10%, but reduced damage from black limbs by 30%. So now we can fly through because these are just some fixes. They reworked the bot spawn system in practice mode. Apparently you would say no AI, but then AI would spawn or something. Fix the incorrect functioning of the culling in some places on streets of Tarkov. So once again, what is separate, what was missing from this patch that presumably is like linked to Unity 2021 is on the roadmap. It says the new culling system being added to the old locations. and a noticeable increase in FPS on all locations. So that was not here. So what was hard throughout the whole day was the amount of people asking me if a problem that was not addressed in the patch notes was fixed, and then saying the patch is an L because it wasn't, right? So like originally in 13.1, there were going to be FPS increases. That had to be moved due to Unity 21 not being in the game. The patch notes didn't say it was being there, but people were like, I didn't see an FPS increase. They lied to us. And it's like, okay, brother, calm down. You know what I mean? So like, or even though on the roadmap, there was no mention of the audio, people were like, the audio still sucks. This patch did literally nothing. And it's like, okay, you know what I mean? So like parsing through just like I stubbed my toe after I Alt F4 to escape from Tarkov and my toe doesn't feel better, therefore this patch is an L, was frustrating because it was like, if you read the patch notes, then what's in the patch notes, we can talk about what's in the game. But if you just say X, Y, or Z is a problem, yeah, we know that, but not every single problem is going to be in every single patch. So,
no, every single problem is going to be in every single patch, not every single solution.
Yeah,
to every
correct.
Single problem.
Yeah.
Get it right.
Yeah, sorry.
Done.
So there was no real noticeable FPS increase, and if anything, you know, the memory leak makes a decrease. But practice mode settings getting reset, fix bots not spawning in practice mode, fix the display signature of thermal sights through the weapon. That was where I sent you that screenshot where like the Photoshop layer almost of the thermal would be like on top of the voodoo. I sent you, yeah, they fixed that. Fix and optimize the rendering of glass and transparent objects on streets. Here's the big one, brother. Fix the cause of the stutters in some specific areas on locations which would occur during the calculations of sound occlusion zones. Remember we talked about, we were super excited. They finally added the occlusion zones to interchange, and then interchange was like an unplayable stuttery mess. And I'm pretty sure you hypothesized it was because it was processing all of those occlusion zones and the many hundreds of them. That's what they said. Well, I ran into interchange, and there's a specific spot where I stuttered down to like, I am a slideshow when I enter in this space every time. And I've been playing a lot of interchange because we've been doing the boss event. So I was confident it was still in the game. We ran around interchange, 98% better. There were a few places where I had like one tiny singular micro stutter, but not like I'm walking through an entire area of the map at 2 frames per second. So that was a huge W. Interchange, like, it has the new audio, they fixed the stutters, and they took away the fog. The lighting still needs work in my opinion, but like interchange is so much more fun to play than it was 6 months ago. Like so much more fun to play. Yeah, it's good. Fixed a bug where open doors could muffle sounds or vice versa. I've had that before. Player scavs. Oh, with high reputation, no longer lose fence reputation if they kill the rogue bosses. So the goons, the rogue bosses, so like as a scav, you can kill the rogues and you can kill the raiders because they established this way back in the day. They're not scavs, they're ex-PMCs. So the scav gang has beef with all PMCs. So you as a scav could kill rogues and raiders without losing rep. And the assumption was that would apply to the goons as well, but it was supposed to, but it didn't. You took the huge rep hit for killing a boss if you killed them. They fixed that. So as a scav, you can kill Big Pipe Knight and Bird Eye. None of the other bosses, but you can kill Big Pipe Knight and Bird Eye without taking a reputation hit. Fix a rare bug where the boss guards would freeze after throwing a grenade. And road decals are no longer superimposed on dropped items, equipment, and weapons. Sometimes if you drop something on like a fallen over stop sign, it would like, the stop sign texture would apply to the magazine.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah. So like they fixed that. And then they ended it with, this update does not include the Unity version update. In the near future, we plan to publish an updated release roadmap for this year that will include the game engine update, content patches, and more. So so I see the roadmap still as a W. They gave us the roadmap. They didn't give us any dates. Things ended up being kind of a little bit out of order, and they're going to update the roadmap. This still was a valuable thing to me because it showed us 2 months ago, whenever they released the roadmap, that they were prioritizing fixes first before content. And that's what they're and that's what they're doing. This Unity didn't come out before this, but the spirit of still showing the players we're working on optimizations to the game and fixes before content still applied. And now that the roadmap is a little out of date, they said they're going to update it. So I like some people were like freaking out about it. And it's like, dude, I don't know. I'd rather this than that one time where we got like 6 months where BSG didn't even tweet. Like, you know what I mean? So yeah, that's that. So
I mean, it's, you know what oh God.
What?
I was just gonna say, you know what we'll call it? We'll call it half of a W. And I realized that's a V.
That's a V.
And then I
satire V.
Had a panic attack.
Yeah. So ultimately, it depends on what your expectation was. If you consider it a W or not, I still think it's too early to tell on the netcode stuff. We're just really going to have to get into tons and tons and tons and tons of fights. But you can't deny that this was relatively one of the smoothest, ginormous 6-hour patches that we've had. Like the game is playable. Nothing is crazy. The netcode is not worse. The rubber banding's not worse. The hit reg isn't worse. But it's hard to tell if it's like overwhelmingly better. So that's where we're at. I had fun playing Escape from Tarkov today. And that shouldn't be a metric to anybody of how effective the patch is, but it's also the only information I can give.
No, but it should also be the only thing that's important to you and anybody who cares about you.
Wow.
And I care about you. I don't know if anybody's told you today, buddy, but I care about you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, yep. That's the stuff. That's Tarkov. Hostess with the mostest. Big. And the patch and the event persisted through it. The event's still going on. No end in sight for the event. Many questions, no answers, right? Like they said they're releasing a new roadmap soon. That's good. Still don't know when is pre-wipe, when is the wipe happening, when is arena happening. We still don't know. Friendly guy. What is event? I love you, man. We still don't know what, like this. So many questions about like, well, if this isn't a wipe, when is the wipe? Patch point 14 is probably going to be a wipe, but I don't think we can assume patch point 14 is close. If patch point 14 isn't close, what are they going to wipe with? Are we not going to wipe? Are we not going to wipe until December? I've been asked these questions a million times. I don't know. I have no idea what this means for wipe. The fact that this patch isn't a wipe. Patch point 14 will happen somewhere between tomorrow and the heat death of the universe. And that is really all I have. Oh, yeah, and the arena made an Instagram account.
Wait, is it sentient?
Yeah. An Instagram account was made for the arena. Which means...
I really wish they'd stop putting out fucking Instagrams and tweets and just fucking get to work, you know what I mean?
Dude.
And by get to work, crazy. I mean finish the next of the Chronicles of Riddick.
Yeah.
Sequel because it's been way too long since I've seen Vin Diesel in a Tripolowski. Never. I'm tired.
It's true. I'm exhausted too, man. I'm exhausted.
I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired.
But that's it. I don't know. You got anything else? That was 2.5. That was 2 hours and 12 minutes of just Tarkov. So the YouTube commenters will be happy about that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just like having an existential crisis this week. We talked about that. It's like so much shit.
Yeah, man.
So much shit going on this 1 week. But actually, a lot of people have been asking. So I might as well give a quick update
for sure.
It's like overwhelmingly positive news.
Good.
With like a weird kind of like sad spin that is still, I think, a good thing. But so as of the beginning of this week, Grandma V is in a nursing home, which is fucking great.
Yeah, which is good news. I know some people, it's like, is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? But like,
I know that there's like,
of what's been happening, like it's a good thing.
Yeah, and then there's also this stigma, that I have gotten a couple messages from people that are, like, nursing homes are the worst places ever, and you're sending that, it's like,
shut up.
That's true sometimes in some places, in some cases, and whatever. At the same time, letting her go home to die is not better than that, or keeping her in the hospital.
Yeah, that assumes a lot to just say that as a blanket statement. Yeah.
But yeah, the what I'm dealing with lately is her not fully either getting or understanding, like what's going on. Because she doesn't remember,
which is just,
it's like you have like
so brutal, man.
The first day I talked to her, she thought she was in the hospital still, and was like, why? Not only did she say like, why can't I go home, even though we've just spent the last like 6 months talking and agreeing that like finding, assisted living for her was the right thing. Now she's like, I'm in the hospital, why can't I go home? It's like, to have to utter the words like you're not in a hospital was like dude, one of the fucking worst. So I'm just been exhausted because every day, multiple times a day, she calls and it's like, can you come pick me up? And it's like, having to have the conversation over and over again.
So
I'm
brutal.
Like emotionally exhausted while also trying to. I'm going to be gone for a few days, going on a little bit of a road trip, going to a friend's wedding.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Trying to get this Diablo video. I feel like the pressure of like more new people are coming into the game, the season, all the pressure of all the news and everything. So I'm like, really want to get this out, soon. Bro, I wake up at 5 a.m., pull out my laptop, and I type on my laptop and edit video, and it's 7 p.m. and it's like I don't. There's not enough hours in the day.
No.
Like I don't.
Yeah.
One thing I'm actively working on is going to streamline my process. I'm not inefficient. I put too much effort and detail into my videos to the point where the end result is the best it can possibly be.
Yeah.
But that doesn't contribute to its success.
Yes.
Dude. I could put in 98% less effort and get only 98%
of the quality.
Well, no, it would be 98% of the views and likes and ad revenue and whatever. So it's like I need to find a reasonable medium.
Yeah.
Where I can just. Yeah. I had this conversation too with my chat yesterday about like a lot of the times what I do is I really try to make it so that there's like, it's never always the case, but like you have to try really hard to not understand what it is I'm trying to explain.
Yeah. I understand what you mean.
I really want to get like, if there's 1,000 people in the room and 997 people are all like, yep, I totally get it. I'll like focus on the 3.
Yeah.
Sometimes to the detriment of the 997.
Yeah, I understand what you're
saying. Because I could just be like, sorry, you're fucking dumb.
Yeah.
You don't get it. Whatever
section.
It is, right? Yeah. You're not paying attention.
Yeah.
Yeah. Watch it a few times, like you'll get it. So, I have some adjusting to do about maybe not being so thorough with every single thing, maybe not, a big thing is not having visuals for every single thing I'm saying.
Yeah, because that
I'm the type of person that I actually stress. I mean, if I want to do visuals to what I'm talking about, sometimes I can take 3 hours to edit 45 seconds of video. And when I'm making a video that's 45 minutes long, do the fucking math.
Yep.
So sometimes it's like I'm doing the thing that I kind of hate, which is I'm just going to sit and talk over gameplay. But it's like, you know what? For the most part, the people who are going to listen and they're going to get it. There's some people who needed the visuals for this thing that's kind of not that complicated. Like, I'm sorry, but you don't get it. You don't get it.
Yeah.
So I'm working through that.
Yeah.
And then of course we even have it in the fucking chat right now. No Man's Sky video. So that's stressing me the fuck out because it's such a massive project.
Yeah.
But this other project kind of takes precedence in terms of
the timeliness.
There's a very real possibility. There's a real possibility that Diablo, that I become a quote unquote Diablo content creator.
Yeah.
Right. Like I could be putting out Diablo guides twice a week, every day for the next 2 years, and not get back into Tarkov.
Yeah.
It's entirely possible. This game has the potential to do that.
Yeah.
So this is kind of an important step.
Yeah. I totally get that.
But I'm also stressing because it's worst case scenario, dude, is I'm going to do everything I possibly can to avoid this. But what I don't want to do is be man, it's been fucking 3 months since I've last worked on that video, the No Man's Sky video. I lost the spark for it.
Yep. I know. Yep.
So I have this terrible guilt where it's I have a million Diablo ideas that are going to be massive. This whole No Man's Sky video is genius and it's epic and everybody wants to see it, but it's also kind of a gamble and a little bit of a wild card.
Yeah, and a lot of work to put into
it. It would
something.
also involve me spending. So I'm just stressed because it's I can't not make the video because every day I got 20 people coming in talking about the No Man's Sky video and I'm like, fuck, I forgot about that. It's my taxes are due and I just keep fucking forgetting because I got so many other things going on.
Yeah, no, that I totally get what you mean about you don't want to get to the point where just some thing in your brain checks and you think about the video and you're like, yeah, it's been too long. I don't really want to work on that anymore. It's that's an impending thing is coming, and it's just getting back into it.
Chess documentary episode 2.
Before that switch flips, and you're like, oh shoot, yeah.
I'm too fickle. I know myself, and I'm fucking ADHD. And when I get into something, I get into it like crazy.
Yeah.
The problem is that if I get into something else, while I'm already 1 foot into the other thing.
Yep.
What I secretly need is someone to make a fucking, and I'm saying this as a joke, more to talk about my mentality and less about I want anybody to do this, but if someone was we made a GoFundMe and it will raise $100,000 for you to finish the video, it's all right, I'm gonna work on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That would be the motivation I would need, other than just my guilt.
And that is currently what you're saying is external motivation is a specific type of motivation that helps. And the external motivation that's happening is the timeliness of the Diablo video. That's why you're that's a part of why you're super excited, because there is a motivating factor outside of just Veritas sitting in his room being I'm super excited to work on it. So sometimes for people like us, content creators, or someone that just is ADHD and is that external factor, part of the timeliness of it stresses you out, but part of it also just excites you because it's just any other external motivator to just be ooh, this makes me excited to work on this video. So you have that external motivation on a video and you don't have it for the big project that you're oh no, I don't want to lose motivation for this. And so, yeah. And
that's part of why, honestly, I tease things so often and show previews.
Yeah.
Because it's me almost saying I'm slightly less likely to fuck off this video before it's done if a bunch of people are asking for it. I'm setting myself up for my own fucking stress and failure. Yeah. Because I got people, is a recoil video going to be? Bro, I'm so uninterested. I'm never doing the recoil video.
Yeah.
Unless 2 years from now I come back to Tarkov and the recoil's still dog shit.
Yeah.
But nah, I literally was running out of hard drive space recording Diablo clips this morning, and the folder that I had netcode clips, cheater clips, desync clips, audio bug clips, blooper clips from Tarkov, and I was delete, a year's worth of. I got rid of 300 gigabytes of Tarkov.
Yeah.
Video.
Damn.
Because I just don't give a fuck.
Yeah. It's I get that, which is totally fine. Yeah. Damn.
So that's where I'm at.
I feel you, man. That's brutal. That's a lot. But
dude, Diablo is in a lot of ways is priming itself to be not, it's for slightly different reasons, but Tarkov Ballistics 2.0.
Oh, really?
Where it's everybody's coming in saying, hey, I can't believe this fucking thing that complete misunderstanding and myth is a thing, and wow, that's so crazy. And it's like I'm constantly having to be like, that's not, it's a fucking so that's why I'm making the video, because I'm so sick of people
and
saying,
then you have a resource to be like, it's like the resource helps weed out the genuine versus the trolls. Because if someone is genuinely asking when you're in a bad mood, that's hard because then you might be short with them. But if somebody is trolling when you're trying to help them, then that ends up in a conversation. So having the resource to be like, it's actually a pretty complicated topic. I go like super deep into it. If you want to watch it here, the genuine people will go watch it and learn something, and the trolls will they won't watch it and you won't have to talk with them. So like, yeah.
I'm also juggling. I really need to like revisit how I'm going to do YouTube stuff. And like genuinely, I feel like the right title for this video is like the most important Diablo 4 video you'll ever watch. Like, I feel like that's the right, because like, I actually believe that. I actually believe that like, it's like understanding how certain things work in Tarkov. Like if you don't, it's going to fucking ruin so much of your experience if you're under a bunch of misapprehensions and misconceptions.
Or at the very least, it'll kneecap your experience. You won't even realize what you don't understand, and you won't even realize what you're missing.
Yeah, and in Diablo, it's all about like getting the right items and doing the most efficient thing, and all of the myths are related to that. It's like you're doing it all wrong. You're missing out on so much shit. You're wasting hours, and so I don't know. Like, I feel like that's the right thing to do. I also feel like most reasonable people are not gonna like judge me for it. But at the same time, I'm like, oh god, people are gonna be like, oh, this is clickbait. Like my subconscious is thinks there's gonna be 1,000 comments that are all gonna be like, fuck you, lost respect for you, clickbait bullshit.
Nah.
But in reality, nobody's gonna give a fuck. Nobody's gonna notice.
You'll get those comments, but like I heard this somewhere once, and I don't know why. I was just in the place to internalize it, and I really did. Because like, and if you're a viewer of this could take this the wrong way, so that it's almost like shouldn't say it because the context matters here. But knowing that you and I are the type of people that stress about this and genuinely don't want to clickbait people, but are trying to find a balance between like, I want my video to succeed, but I really don't want to clickbait people or to be dishonest. Knowing that context, what was said was like, for like, generally for every single person that comments that title was clickbait, like 1,000 people saw the video that wouldn't have seen it. Like the ratio is insane. So it's just like,
not to mention the number of people that are like, definitely wasn't clickbait title. This is the greatest video, you know?
So it's like, so you figure out at what's the ratio that's worth it. Like if I could guarantee you 100 million views on a video for every person that said that title's clickbait, I would make it, freaking Mr. Beast died, live cam footage, like you just make it whatever. Because
Diablo, Elsa, Spider-Man sex, ultra hot video, you won't believe it, uncut, uncensored
apology video.
Yeah.
So like,
I'll have to pull out a ukulele.
Oh my god, dude. So like there's a ratio there. So it's just finding like, okay, you don't believe it's clickbait. You believe it's genuine. Like we've talked before about how clickbait has lost all meaning. You know what I mean? People just disagree with the title and they think it's clickbait. That's not what clickbait is. You know what I mean? Like,
or they think that marketing is clickbait,
exactly.
even if it's sensationalized, but honest.
Exactly. So so that's really helped me like with some of my titles to just be like, I don't even care. You know what I mean? Like I can stand behind a title, every title. I'm not like, I've never posted a video and been like, oh man, I don't know about that title. That would be the metric for me to be like, no, I shouldn't do that. So, but you lean into it and generally it's worked. Every time I've been like, this is like funny. This is meme. This is a little clickbaity. It's worked. And every time I see that comment where I'm like, I see clickbait title, I'm like, dude, look at the views of the video. That dude's just butthurt. There's like so many more people saw the video and still got that 99% like to dislike ratio. Still got 99% of the comments are like, this video was hilarious. So it just makes me be like, all right, dude, screw you. So
yeah, I mean, ultimately it comes down to like, I have like a million title ideas and it's either the most important Diablo 4 video you'll ever watch or the definitive Diablo 4 item guide. I wanted to do ultimate, but right there's a million ultimate Diablo, so I'm like, I can't. Item guide, how to get the best items. And it's like, no, fucking God almighty.
What about, dude? What about like you're playing Diablo 4 wrong?
Bro, that's so good.
Or like, or something.
I gotta pay.
You don't understand Diablo like you think you do. That one's not as sticky as you're playing Diablo 4 wrong. But something like that, leaning into the because those statements make people go, no, I'm not. I'll prove it to you by watching your video and then leaving a comment saying I knew all this, but then they watch it and learn something.
You're playing Diablo 4 wrong. You know what would be the ultimate? This would be golden. If I did YOUR, you're playing.
Oh my!
You know how much engagement I would get from the.
Dude, you broke my brain because like that title is a strong title. So to have like a really strong title that people click on and have a spelling error in it, dude, your CTR would be nuts.
Oh yeah, speaking of, we had a typo in our last title of the podcast.
Oh no. It's been since Monday and nobody told me?
Maybe, you know what? Maybe even the one before that.
No.
I may or may not have. This was one of those situations, I think. I genuinely, and I've never been like this with you before at all. But thinking back to like the moment, I think I was on my phone and I noticed it. And it was kind of like one of those you got spinach in your teeth kind of things where like, I'm just not going to say anything.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Now that I just fucking pointed out, I knew that someone's going to be like, oh, the irony of them talking about having a typo. And I think it was like, maybe it was 2 with 2 O's instead of 2. I don't remember which one it was.
Chat, find it. This is one thing I can trust you to do.
Oh, it's Tarkov keeps getting in its own way. I don't think it's not supposed to have a. Jesse, let me push up the brim of my glass.
It's not supposed to have an apostrophe.
Yeah.
You're right.
Oh shit! And the thumbnail. There you go. Called out live, red-handed.
Is that supposed to have 2 O's?
Yep.
Dude, imagine understanding the difference between 2 and 2. Couldn't be me, dude. Couldn't be me.
Now, see, I was literally just going to be like, you know what? If anybody gets butthurt about this,
tell me.
Oh no, I mean, normally I would tell you. I think I've pointed it out before, because sometimes there's just a fucking, you're typing the thumbnail real quick and you mash the button and then whatever, right? Like, it was just, sometimes shit, things are weird and whatever. And I think I was like stressed out about whatever else, so I'm just like, I just don't fucking care. I just don't care. But of course, what I can't do is bear the thought of someone being like, doesn't even realize that he has a typo and he's sitting here talking about typo.
Oh,
you know what? No, wait, let's retcon all this. You cut all this out.
Yeah.
We just debated you on episode 158. All the engagement we got, we farmed from you. It was all intentional. All intentional.
Yeah, get wrecked.
Get absolutely wrecked. Get trolled.
Freaking trolled, boys.
I love how that is the definition of trolling on Twitch, is just being like, pretending like you're an idiot douche.
Yep.
Like, I'm just going to pretend like I'm stupid so that when people call me out and be like, just trolling, bro. It's like, that's not, you don't get, never mind.
Yep.
They're the ones that see the prank videos where it's like, pulled a gun on someone.
Yeah.
Prank, like, hey friend, that's not a prank. You know that, right? Like,
yeah.
That's not a prank, right?
Yep.
That's a felony.
Pulled a gun on someone.
Gone sexual.
Oh my God.
What a fucking episode. This is a fever dream.
This is a fever dream, dude. Have you
been playing Diablo for the last 40 minutes?
No.
Yeah.
Dude, is it crazy that we've been doing the podcast for like over 3 years?
I don't even want to think about it.
March 25th, 2020.
I don't even want to do going back. Oh my
The
God.
first episode. It's called
Bro,
Juice
it's so
Time,
wild.
baby.
When I go back and I listen to one of my favorite podcasts ever, the thing that got me into podcasts was The Skeptic's Guide to the Universe. When I go back and listen, you know, it's like, hey everybody, welcome to The Skeptic's Guide to the Universe.
Yeah.
You know, it's like terrible audio quality. Yeah. There's like different hosts. There's like a different theme music. Like you just think about, and then that whole like phenomena around like listening to all that and seeing the evolution and then thinking like, I'm on the other side of it. It's so weird.
It's so weird. Yeah. Dude, episode 13 of the podcast was called Streets of Tarkov.
Does it have like an interrobang?
What is that?
Yo, wait, do you know like the question mark exclamation point combo?
Oh, no.
Is it like Streets of Tarkov? Like coming soon?
Oh, no. It's just quotes. Streets of Tarkov. 2020. Lamau.
Well, I know once this week we've got ideas, we've got stuff for ideas for shit. Yep. We've got plans for stuff coming up. I'm unfortunately fucking pumping the brakes on all of it just because it's like, you know, whatever. But soon enough, we've actually got plans. We've got news. Yeah, we've got shit.
Some cool
stuff. So get pogged. Yeah, so get pogged.
For sure. I'm excited. The podcast had I didn't even mean to take us down that little nostalgia road, but we've come a long way. The support has been like absolutely insane, and we want to like do more cool, fun stuff and make more content via like the podcast.
And at this rate, dude, like sometime next year, we're going to be doing 24-hour podcasts.
Yes,
just like because they just keep getting longer and longer.
Dude,
I keep starting later and later.
Dude, seriously, man. The past like 4 have been 2.5 hours long. Dude, one of the comments I read on the YouTube video was like, who the hell has 2.5 hours to watch this? And I was like, I mean, obviously not you, but the amount of people that have been coming in and being like, dude, I love the longer
people who have an hour commute to work every day.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. It's great. But thank you guys. Thank you for the support. Thank you for hanging. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. This was a long one, so if you came in late or whatever, this will be posted on YouTube and on all the podcast platforms on Monday. We had a lot of Tarkov to talk about this week. We'll see what happens over the next few weeks and months, but it's also fun talking about other games, other projects, creativity, content creation, and you guys have made it known that you guys enjoy us talking about that too, which is awesome. So thank you for hanging. Thank you again, Factor, for sponsoring this episode, and we will definitely see y'all on the next one. Peace.